Right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, a national champion crowned last night in San Antonio. The Florida Gators win another national championship, and they do it with a young, up-and-coming coach. Back-to-back with Billy the Kid, as Rick Pitino called him when he was at Providence when they went to the Final Four. Called Billy Donovan, Billy the Kid. Billy Donovan wins back-to-back at Florida. Now Todd Graham gets a national championship.
Golden.
Todd Golden, not Todd Graham. I don't know who Todd Graham is. Probably Todd Grantham, maybe. Is Todd Graham the football coach that was at Arizona State and Pittsburgh or whatever and had like the Britney Spears microphone on the sideline? That was weird, that dude. But Todd Golden, yes, thank you. Good start to the show. Already getting that one right. Is it Devon or Devon? It's pronounced Okoye? Okay, I was close. I was going to get there probably one day. I'll figure it out.
You were right on Todd Graham. He was the ASU coach.
Yeah, he's the one that had the Britney Spears weirdo thing. Yeah, so he did not win a national championship. But Todd Golden did win a national championship with Florida last night. And Walter Clayton Jr., the most outstanding player of the Final Four, a guy that, you know, his story has been highlighted the last couple of weeks. Under-recruited player from Iona, 3 Division I scholarships. Iona being one of those, I should say under-recruited player from Florida, 3 Division I scholarships. Rick Pitino at Iona, one of the coaches to give him a scholarship. He goes to Iona for a couple of years. Pitino leaves to St. John's. St. John's people feel pretty positive that Walter Clayton's going to go to St. John's and follow Rick Pitino. He did not. He wanted to go back home to Florida. Todd Golden Graham, he ends up giving him a scholarship, and the rest, as they say, is history for Walter Clayton, who grew into one of the best shooters in America, one of the best free throw shooters in America, the second best free throw percentage in an NCAA tournament history. Walter Clayton this year scored 134 points in the 6 games, back-to-back 30-point games in a Elite Eight Final Four, and went scoreless in the first half, and Florida was down by 3. And boy, didn't everybody feel like you got to feel good if you're Florida right now? You're down by 3. Houston seems like they're playing their game, a tough physical game. Walter Clayton hasn't done anything in this game, and you're only down by 3 points. It was like, wow, they're in a good spot. Then the next 4 minutes of play, they went down by 9 more, and they were down 12 with 16 minutes to play. And it is a Florida team that came back from 9 down at UConn, 10 down against Texas Tech. They were down by 9 or 10. Yeah, 10 to Texas Tech, 9 to Auburn again, and then 12 last night to Houston. And Houston on Saturday comes back from 14 down to beat Duke and then gives up a 12-point lead. Florida continued to find ways to play in the second half. And, again, credit Todd Golden. His second-half adjustments clearly worked. But also, you need shot makers. You got to have guys make shots, because if Walter Clayton doesn't hit those shots against UConn, this whole run is done in the round of 32, and we're wondering, what the future of Florida is going to be with these guys graduating or moving on. And Todd Golden put together a really good team, won the SEC tournament, number 1 seed, and lost in the second round. Boy, what a disappointing season. What a disappointing end to what could have been a really promising season and one of the favorites to win the national championship. The 2 teams picked the most in the brackets, Duke and Florida, to win the national title. Damn near came down to Duke and Florida in the national championship game. But you got shot makers. Walter Clayton was a shot maker. Houck hit shots against Texas Tech. Will Richard, Elijah Martin, all had different moments in the tournament stepping up. Condon last night, back-to-back possessions in the latter parts of the 2 minutes to go in the game. Of those 4 possessions that Houston had, the first 2, Condon stole the ball. I mean, back-to-back turnovers with L.J. Cryer. One of them was a shot that he put up a little early in the shot clock, and then Tugler rebounds it. Condon steals the ball from him. The next possession, Cryer made a poor decision to drive baseline early in the shot clock again, and Condon stole the ball from him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Condon played a fantastic game, and he's been next to sort of, invisible at parts of this.
He had a good second half.
Yeah, it's good.
His first half was
His first half was
travels.
yeah, I will say that. Yeah, he was traveling a lot. He was out of his game with the physicality. But early in the game with some of the rim runs in the in transition.
Started good, ended good, but in between was
that's a good point.
A lot of walking.
It's a good point. He did have some of those turnovers. I guess I'm thinking of the beginning of the game when Florida couldn't get points from the main guys, and Condon continued to get dunks in transition.
Early four. He had a quick four.
And then in the second half, Walter Clayton was still struggling and had that great entry pass from like half court.
Ian Eagle early was like, Houston usually gets people off their game, and they're not doing it tonight. Their best players turned it up. Walter Clayton turned it over just as much as Condon did. I mean, he was throwing it everywhere.
They had, 10 more turnovers in the game? Or at one point, it was 13-4, but then Houston ends up turning the ball over their final 4 possessions there in the game. I mean, a rough time for that to happen. And again, that to me is one of the most surprising parts of last night's game, and we'll get into it and talk about that. 913-912-4810. I have some other, takeaways and angles from last night. I went and looked at the transfer portal rankings for Florida and Houston. The players that played in the game, Auburn and Duke, the players that played in the game, and then looked at the 3 local schools in KU and Mizzou and K-State from last year, just to get an idea of where we are in, I think, the view and maybe evolving view of the transfer portal. So we'll get into that here in just a little bit. But one of the things I said, yesterday, Sterling, was I was excited about the game because I thought we would get a classic, and I think for the most part we did.
Yeah.
We got great plays on both sides. We got the refs showing up too, so you got 13 people on the floor that were really showing out and just really playing their game. 5 for Houston, 5 for Florida on the floor, and then the 3 refs. Just 13 people out there just showing what they're all about.
Why?
After
one of the, in my opinion, best refed halves I have ever seen in college basketball, the first half, I loved. The refs let them play. Was it very physical? Yes. Was it enjoyable and the flow of the game phenomenal to watch? Yes.
Todd Golden got upset and threw a real big hissy fit on the sideline with his
it wasn't even Todd Golden, though. It was the assistant coach that almost walked out on the floor.
Yeah.
I couldn't
way to
believe
deter it, though. Once he did that, the fouls completely switched and completely favored the Florida Gators, in my opinion.
It's not even your opinion.
I mean, it was like they almost caught up to the 7 fouls Florida had right in the next couple possessions.
Did you see the tweet that went out? Justin Ferguson is somebody that covers Auburn, so I'm assuming maybe rooting for or who knows with the SEC. I was talking about how the fouls early in the second half, it was like they allowed Houston to sort of set the tone physically. And then in the second half, they were like, hey, Florida, you can't play physical, but Houston can. So I tweeted that out, and it's like, oh, SEC, your team sucks, and so you're rooting for the SEC. And I'm like, actually, I'm rooting for Kelvin Sampson. Like, I really want Kelvin Sampson to win.
You said that, multiple times.
I picked Florida to win because I thought they would win the game, but I was rooting for Houston and Kelvin Sampson to win the game. So I'm like, no, it's not about the SEC for me. I'm just watching a game, and I'm like, Houston's setting some pretty physical screens, and Tugler almost had like an offensive line stock blocking, screen when Cryer hit a 3, and Martin goes in for a screen, and it was a physical screen, and it was like, boop, that's a foul. I'm like, that has been all day. But to Dylan's point, after the technical, here are the fouls from the 17-minute mark until the 5-minute mark. You ready? Houston, 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 Florida. Houston, 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 Florida, Florida, Houston, Houston. After the technical foul. Those were the foul calls the rest of the game. The last 17 minutes, Florida was called for 3, and Houston was called for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It was 13-3 foul calls after the technical foul. Dylan, it's not even your opinion. It was fact.
Yeah.
It was completely switched. Let him play 4 fouls called in the first half, 25 fouls called in the second half.
And I've been watching Kansas basketball long enough to know that a well-placed technical foul from a coach isn't the worst thing in the world to give up 2 shots the ball, but then you almost are correcting.
How much did they make up?
It was 1 point. It was the technical foul was he went 1 for 2.
Same thing with Chinyelu. Chinyelu's technical foul. Cryer went 1 for 2. It cost him 1 point on that one. No, I think Cryer went 2 for 2 on that one. I apologize. Jawan Roberts went 1 for 2 because that was the foul when Chinyelu fouled him. So they got 3 points out of that possession, 2 points from the technical, but 3 out of 4 points in the 2 technicals, but only 1 from the assistant coach that came out. But it was more than worth it. I mean, all those fouls because you had Francis and Tugler picking up their 4th fouls and playing different. Like, my frustration in that one, and I didn't think we would start here, but I do think it's part of the college basketball game, is how physical the first half was, and the players were playing through it, and I enjoyed watching the game. Part of it because, again, I was wanting Houston to win.
Sure.
But, like, as the second half was going on, the worry that you have in those games that are called as physical as that are allowed to play as physical as they were is all it takes is one. It takes an official calling one ticky-tack foul that it's like, hold on, dude, that has not been a call all day. Yeah. And then the other side, you get a ticky-tack foul because we're like, all right, we kind of let that, right, that was, and then it starts to build because now it's like, well, we called a ticky-tack foul down there, we called one down there, and then that becomes the rest of the half. And that's what happened. As soon as one call that was like, I'm not sure that was a foul at all, it just started to snowball. And how they were allowed to play in the first half was completely opposite of how they were allowed to play in the second half. And I don't understand the thought process from the officials. If it's a physical game, it's a physical game. That's how you're calling it. But to change, and like, Seth Davis, tweeted out with like 16 minutes to go, and he's like, there's clearly a message being sent here about how physical the game is. The players have to adjust. And I'm like, the message is, Florida, don't touch them. Houston, have at it. Like, that was the message in the first 4 minutes, but then it completely flipped.
Yeah,
then it was Houston, you better not do anything, and Florida, go ahead and carte blanche, because we apologize for the technical foul and calling a couple of ticky-tacks that may have gone, that probably were overlooked in the first half. We called those on Florida. We're going to go over the top and make up for it and allow Florida just to sort of do whatever they want, and we're going to call everything on Houston from here on out.
Again, I was just bummed because the first half was such a fun, free-flowing game.
Yeah.
Second half, it really took some of the wind out of the sails. Great game overall.
I still loved the game, man. I didn't want it to end. I wanted Houston to get a bucket there and go to overtime.
We're so close to overtime. By the way, 2-point game. Remember the missed goaltending?
Yeah. So, I mean, it changes things. Now the butterfly effect, things could have been different along the way. But that's 2 points was 2 points.
2 points.
Put those 2 points on the board. Maybe the 63-62 lead with 2 minutes to go is 65-62. Florida got to 65. Maybe it goes. Maybe the last possession is switched. Florida's the one that has to come through and hit a shot to take it into overtime. But I just wanted more of that game. I didn't want that game to end.
That's what I meant with that point. Was like, if they call that, I'm thinking overtime, 5 more minutes of that because it was awesome.
I just had such a blast watching that game. 2 incredibly high-level teams, and I think we had 2 high-level teams playing at the top of their game. And part of it is one of the storylines I want to get into today, Sterling, not the second, but part of it is I do believe the conferences prepared these teams for that game.
Yeah.
Where the ACC did not prepare Duke for a tough game in the Final Four for them to be able to respond. Where Houston responded, Auburn responded, Florida responded. You've seen so many different teams respond that were in the Big 12. Texas Tech responded against Arkansas. I just thought that was sort of one of the storylines, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think Kelvin Sampson just outcoached Golden for the first 25 minutes of the game. I don't want to say that Golden outcoached Sampson because I think,
he deserves his kudos. I mean, his kudos, as Romeo would say. He deserves the tip of the cap to Golden.
But for Golden to finally adjust and allow and get Walter Clayton into the game, at least offensively, because you could tell early on Walter Clayton was not himself. He was perplexed. He was confused.
He was pressing.
Took in some
stupid shots.
Just brutal shots, and then he just decided, I'm not going to shoot. I'm not going to shoot because I can't get open. I'm just going to be passive. And the offense, again, Will Richard deserves a ton of credit because without Will Richard, I don't know where Florida would have been in this game. He kept him in this game. But then you saw some of the adjustments of just even offensively with some of the pick and rolls, pick and pops with Walter Clayton getting involved. Alex Condon finally deciding he's not going to travel when he catches the ball. It just really changed the last 15 or so minutes of the game. Will Clayton hit the was it the layup or the and one, or he hit two, whatever it was. And
it was back-to-back and ones.
Yeah.
Because he had the left-handed layup that he got fouled, and then he had the one where it was looked like a flare screen but a cut back door.
Yes.
And Cryer fouled him.
And that's what it was. And that's a play, the back door to get him at least an easy bucket. And I was very impressed with the Golden still trying to find a way to get his best player involved in the game. Don't let him get passive. Don't let him continuously make these horrendous passes, these pressing decisions. And he was rewarded for it. So
and you know what? I mean, credit Florida as well for upping the defensive pressure on the perimeter those last 4 or 5 possessions because it was a high-level pressure. I mean, the last 2 minutes there were 63, 62. There were 3 points scored in the last 2 minutes of the game. From both teams, physically, defensively, not letting the game get away either way. Houston was up 63-62, and they lost 65-63. They did not score in the last 2 minutes because, again, their final 4 possessions, it was an L.J. Cryer quick, off of an offensive rebound out of bounds and a quick shot on the baseline. Tugler rebounded it. Condon got the steal. Next possession, L.J. Cryer, early shot on the opposite baseline, goes up, but Condon steals it. Then the next possession was Emmanuel Sharp losing the ball off his knee. I think it was Elijah Martin or Will Richard, one of them, that reaches in and knocks the ball away, bounces off his knee, and then the last possession, the travel, or just the almost travel, but the steal by Condon technically. They're diving on the floor to win the game. All 4 of those possessions were. 3 of them, it was going towards the rim and attacking the rim. The last one was not, which is why I'm more hesitant than some of the national talk about with the way that game was called. Why would you not attack and force the issue and get downhill and force the refs to make a call? Like Jay Williams on Saturday night saying, Cooper flag. How do you not force the officials to make a call? You're big, you're strong. Attack Juwan Roberts to the basket, to the bucket. Be the wooden, AP All-American, #1 player in the country, award winner, player of the year, and make them make a call or attack as opposed to fading away, where there was a lot of the, my initial thought was, why didn't they just attack? Why are they settling for the 3?
Sure.
And then it's like, well, their previous 3 possessions, they attacked. They were going to the basket, and Condon made 2 good plays. Will Richard or Elijah Martin, again, one of the 2. You probably know which one it was that knocks the ball off Sharp's knee. Like, they played really good defense, and Kelvin Sampson's thought might have been, we're tired.
Yeah.
We've put everything we had into this. We've got Cryer and Sharp that can knock down threes, and they have been hitting big shots this entire tournament. We have not been able to attack with our guards against their pressure defense. When we've got in there, their bigs have been better than ours. What's our best shot of winning this game? Setting up a play for Cryer and a secondary play off of that for Sharp to hit a 3.
Yeah.
So it might
Neither of them wanted that shot.
Yeah, and credit Florida for the
Florida had great pressure, but
they
could have got up. They could have got it up at least like a shot, and boy, mark that.
Yeah, but like the original play was, Uzan goes to the right wing, gets a screen, and then turns around, and it's supposed to be a double screen for Cryer coming over to the right wing from the top of the key. I'm guessing a catch and shoot. But Richard or Martin, again, I get him confused, worked so hard to get around the screen.
Yeah.
And Condon was there to show as Cryer caught the ball. And then you had Sharp that was down on the block that then goes up to the top of the key. I don't know if it was supposed to be the swinging gate or, you come together and set a screen on Walter Clayton. But Juwan Roberts sees Sharp run by him. Yeah, right.
Elevator play, yeah.
Right. Juwan Roberts sees Emmanuel Sharp run by him to the top of the key, and then Walter Clayton's running by him. I thought Roberts was going to set a screen. Instead, he just sort of knocked into his own guy.
Yeah.
That maybe he was thinking to post up or something, which allowed Walter Clayton just to get a free run at Emmanuel Sharp. And I'm guessing Sharp in the back of his mind is going, I've got this much space with Walter Clayton right now. I'm catching it. He's got to get around Juwan. He's got to get around before he's going to get here. I can just catch him. Why is he there?
Yes.
Oh, crap. I'm going to put the ball on the floor, and here we go.
It's where you got to throw it off his knees.
Yeah. If he pump faked, I mean, there's nobody within like 8 feet of Emmanuel Sharp. But again, that's asking a lot there. I'm surprised that was the best look that they would have got. But I also want to credit Florida for the way they played. And I think part of the strategy by Kelvin Sampson was how Florida played the last 3 or 4 minutes in stopping the attacks to the basket, getting into the lane, and getting turnovers and getting block shots and steals to where it almost forced the hand of Kelvin Sampson to say, if we go inside, are we going to get fouled? Are they going to let him play? Cryer or Emmanuel Sharp, an open three. Let me draw it up, and I'll take my chances winning the championship right here.
Well, you can try and get fouled, and you don't get fouled, and then you realize what a horrible shot because John Tonje did that with Wisconsin, the final possession. Instead of trying to make it, he tried to get fouled.
I think he was fouled,
He
too.
probably did, but
the guy slapped his left arm. But still,
but
they didn't call it.
And sometimes refs just hold their whistles.
They didn't call it.
You got to try and make it and not just try and get fouled. So that's already won this tournament. Similar situation. But I want to give a lot of credit to Florida's defense and especially some of the bigs. Alex Condon at 6'11", being able to move horizontally on the perimeter the way he can is very impressive. Not many big guys can move and keep up with guards, can move and not be a complete liability to where you get switched on a pick and roll or a pick and roll to get a mismatch with a guard and a big to try and blow by him. You ain't getting by Condon. Mm-hmm. I'm very impressed with his ability to move his feet. Him and even I forget his last name. Micah. Yeah, hand-glocked. At 7'1", being able to move like that is very impressive. Not trying to take a shot at like Gray for Missouri for an example. He couldn't keep up with those guys.
Not trying to take a shot, but you specifically named him. I don't know.
Hunter Dickinson couldn't either. I'm just impressed at the
Connor Vanover. Name a 7-footer, a general 7-footer in college basketball that gets switched off on a guard, and what's that going to look like?
Exactly.
Right.
But, I mean, it's a disaster. But again, you got to give credit because Condon, the way he was working on the perimeter in this game, that to me was a huge difference in what Houston was not able to do with their guards.
Yeah. We'll take a timeout. A couple things that I want to get into the rest of this hour. Did the SEC need that win last night to put a stamp on the historic season that they had? Did these teams or were these teams prepared by going through a tough conference? Because it's so easy. It's so easy oftentimes to say, well, they went through that gauntlet of a conference and it just wore them down. And they got beaten down by that conference, not prepared for the tournament by that conference. I think we saw 2 teams last night that were battle-tested and had leather skin of just being in fights and layers of armor that they developed throughout the season in going through those conferences the way they did to then survive the games along the way and not fold in the moment to get there to have that back and forth heavyweight fight that was taking place. I think there's an element of that. And, a lot of talk about Walter Clayton and where he was in the recruiting rankings and where he was in the rankings coming out of high school as well. But just in transfer portal rankings, I want to look at that from Florida's perspective, Houston's perspective, and then throw in Auburn and Duke and then compare that to the local schools. And if we maybe change our mindset a little bit as we look at the transfer portal rankings and commitments currently right now for the local schools. And K-State getting a big-time score in the transfer portal as well. So, they've got a couple of scholarships left. Missouri's got a couple of scholarships left, and I think KU has 32 scholarships left. I think it's roughly 32. They've got plenty of room, plenty of moves that still have yet to be made for Bill Self. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling more zone next. It's beautiful outside today, and Let's play a couple sound bites here from last night. They come from the losing side. We'll have plenty of hearing from Florida and Todd Golden moving forward. But here's Kelvin Sampson with Tracy Wolfson post-game. Obviously an emotional Kelvin Sampson. And I don't know that he's going to cut down the nets in the Final Four in a national championship. I mean, you're up by 12 in that game to win a national title. The NCAA took away, 8 years of your career, in the prime of your career, that you lose that. And now you're in your 70s and have this special group that came together and a number of guys that are graduating. But here's Kelvin Sampson, obviously emotional with Tracy Wolfson post-game outside the locker room after the 65-63 loss.
Coach, I know it's so hard right now. You had a 12-point lead.
Yeah.
What happened down the stretch, especially in those final few minutes?
Well, first of all, congratulations to University of Florida, Todd. His kids really played well. When you get a lead, that means you're making shots. When the other team comes back, that means they're making shots and you're missing. They were missing a bunch of shots, and we started making it. We got up 12, and but Florida's good. I mean, they're a good team. We're a good team. After 40 minutes, there was a 2-point difference. Just a 2-point difference. We could have done things better in the last 2 or 3 minutes, and I could have done things better. So it always starts with me. I always look at how I could have done better, and but I'm so proud of this team for what they've done. Winning the Big 12, winning the Big 12 tournament, winning 5 consecutive games, and coming within an eyelash of winning a national championship. I love these kids. I love this staff. I love this program. And this one hurts. This one stings. But, at some point, these guys will realize how special they are.
I'm sure there are a lot of emotions inside as well right now. Could you put into words what you said to them?
Well, the biggest thing that they needed to hear me say is I loved them, because I did. I loved this team. This was a once-in-a-lifetime team, and that's why I felt like we could win the national championship with this group. I want to thank our fans that made this place such a awesome experience for our kids playing a national championship game with so many great Sooner fans. Can't thank our fans enough for coming here and supporting us. But we'll be back. This program is built on the right things with the right kind of people. But I love this team. I love its leadership. The seniors left a legacy of winning that won't be easy to duplicate.
I appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Did he say so many great Sooner fans here?
That's what I thought he said, too.
I thought he did, too. I listened to that last night. I listened to it this morning when I loaded it into the system. And then listening to it there was the first time that I heard him say so many great, sounded like he said Sooner fans.
Can we
here.
check tape? Dylan, can we check tape? About
Dylan's
minute
checking tape, yeah.
45-ish?
Yeah.
If I was a betting man, about minute 45 in.
Yeah, but, I mean, the NCAA, he missed 7 years of his career with the NCAA giving him the show cause after Indiana. And then going to the NBA, waiting for all of that to be done before Houston gave him a shot. And, now he's going to be 70 years old in October. Did he say it, Dylan? What, can you play it?
So many great Sooner fans.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure Houston fans are thrilled about
Wait a
that
minute.
right now.
Yeah, you know what? If he was coaching Mizzou, he can say so many great whatever fans if they're playing a national
there's one
championship.
team he can't say.
I don't care what he says.
No, there's one team.
He could say so many great Jayhawk fans.
Nope,
I wouldn't care.
That's the team.
Nope.
Out.
He plays in the national championship game. Don't care. Say
Out.
whatever you want.
That's
Yeah.
the one.
No.
Give
Not
me
at all.
Norm.
Not at all. Yeah, okay.
You know how you get to Colorado? Through Nebraska.
That's fine. Yeah, you know how you get to the Final Four? A different coach. So if he's playing in a national championship game with the Missouri players out there,
Okay,
so
Dylan,
many great Jayhawk fans
Dylan,
over there.
let's just say Bill
Don't
Self
care.
retires. The next coach for Kansas takes y'all to a Final
Different.
Four.
It's different. They've won national titles, dude. They've got
And
Final
they
Fours and national
say-
titles. It'd be the first coach ever to lead Missouri.
We'd still even
Yeah.
be like, it's all right.
Yeah.
He's hyped up. He won the national championship.
Yeah, beggars, choosers, all of that stuff. Yeah, whatever. You
I
know?
will beg and I will choose my begging.
Yeah, you did apparently by guaranteeing Missouri would beat Drake. I mean, it's like you are on a different
That
level.
was a
when it
bad
comes to-
stamp. That was a.
that
That's a stamp when you put it on one on and you take it there and they
It was a
go,
tough one.
sir, you need 2 stamps, and you're like, shoot, is that heavy really?
Do I need? Because I was heavy-handed with that take.
Yeah.
I guess I did need 2 stamps on that one. It was like when if you grew up playing horse or pig, that sometimes the last shot you make to give the other player their last letter, you then have to make it again to prove that it wasn't just a lucky hook shot. Some people play that way. It'd be like yours.
silly.
It's like, do you want to put another stamp on there to make sure that you know for sure this is the take you're going to have? This is that we need 2 stamps here.
Take was 2 scoops.
Yeah, it was. So was their play in that game. And boy, what I wouldn't give for a 2-point loss in the championship game. I did love seeing some of the message boards of like, we are the Buffalo Bills of college basketball, because they're 0-3 in championship games now.
Yeah.
Houston back-to-back with Phi Slamma Jamma, and then
Wow, yeah.
losing to Florida. So we're the Buffalo Bills of college basketball. Well, I mean, yeah, you got there. I mean, you got Kelvin Sampson. He's going to be
The
70.
Bengals will take the Buffalo Bills history right now.
I mean, it's like, you get
They
chances that are
damn
there.
near do. I mean,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
not
it's close.
consecutive Super Bowls, but it's close.
What do they got? 2 or 3?
3.
Three of
The
them?
third was the most recent.
That's right. Yeah, 2 before and then 3 now. So
Both to the Niners.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then the Rams. So that damn NFC West can't get by them. Obviously, he's one of the best coaches in America. How long he's going to do it, I don't know. Houston's been on top of the Big 12 for a couple of years. You get guys that were, committing and playing in the AAC to then going into the SEC, or excuse me, the Big 12 for Houston. I was thinking Sooner fans, going to the SEC, but going to the Big 12 for Houston and winning it the last couple of years, and being in a position so often that he has been with these teams. Maybe he'll be there next year. Maybe it'll be Houston and Kelvin Sampson will get a different group together and be able to play at a high level in a national championship game. But I think oftentimes when special teams come around, it is so difficult to try to duplicate that ever again. The Floridas in back-to-back, the Yukons, are so freaking rare.
Yeah.
Because if you're winning a national championship, you're probably doing it with NBA players. For the most part, you're doing it with NBA players. This was also the first championship game played without freshmen since like 1980-something, I think was the stat that I saw. I took a bunch of notes on these random
Also,
stats
it's
that were
probably
there.
only one NBA player, Walter Clayton.
Yeah. First one since 1989. So no freshman played in the national championship game for the first time since 1989. You know what also was crazy is I was thinking about this last night, so I decided to go Curtis Seabolt route and be a dork and just look up something that took me a while to find, because I'm like, this is interesting.
Curtis, Jason called you a dork.
We all are. We can smell our own, But I was thinking like, wow, Houston was in the roadies against Duke. Florida was in the roadies against Auburn, and then Florida was in the roadies against Houston. Like, for a tournament that had no quote-unquote upsets or Cinderella, all 3 games were won by the team in the road jersey. When's the last time that ever happened? 1989 was the last time that happened. Also the last time no freshman. That's a total coincidence. But in this century, Florida's also the 4th team this century to win a national championship where both of their games they were in the road jerseys. 03 Syracuse, 08 Kansas, 2016 Villanova, and this year with Florida. They won both games in the and a 1 seed. So the only time there have been 4 number 1s, the 4th number 1 seed won the tournament with Kansas and then Florida. Both times been all number 1 seeds. So I don't know what that means. Totally random. But I thought it was interesting that, all 3 teams, all 3 games were won by the team in the road jersey. And Florida led in that game for only 1 minute, 4 seconds. They led for 1 minute and 4 seconds in that game. They took that lead at 63-62, was the first one since or 64-63, whenever, since it was 8-6. They were up 8-6, and then they didn't lead again till 1.5 minutes to go. And they led for a total of 1 minute and 4 seconds of those 40 minutes in that game. It was one of those crazy games where I just felt like it was going to be Houston's night for so much of that. And we were going to talk about what happened with Walter Clayton and look at the straitjacket that Houston put Walter Clayton in. And Florida found a way to win, man. So, obviously credit to Todd Golden. The transfer portal is going to be an interesting part of this. I want to take a timeout, come back and look at this a little bit. We'll get into it in the next hour as well. We'll talk with Adam Teicher coming up at 11 o'clock from ESPN Chiefs Insider. We'll hang out with Les Norman coming up at noon, breaking the norm, talking some Royals baseball. They get the win last night against the Twins in game number 1 of this series. Lorenzen goes out there and pitches well. The back end of the bullpen struggled at times, but got the job done. Todd Lebo joins us in the 1 o'clock hour. We got some Fact or Fiction. We'll continue talking some college basketball with Todd. But on the other side, I looked at the transfers that played in the game last night for Florida and Houston, and if there's anything to take away from that, also looking at Auburn and Duke and the 3 local schools. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. We're getting to some of the local schools in the transfer portal and some of the rankings that are there and looking at this last year. But looking at Florida, that had 4 transfers on the floor last night of the players that, played at least a minute in the game. Houston had 3 of them. And the top 2 transfers in the transfer portal rankings when the year they transferred. Okay, so not everything is the 2024 transfer class or the 2023 transfer class, et cetera. Janai Broom for Auburn, the 2022, transfer portal class. But the number 1 transfer portal player in last night's game was L.J. Cryer. He was the 6th overall transfer in 2023. The second highest ranked transfer portal player of the 8 players was David David Handlogden from Marshall. He was ranked 27th when he came out. Milos Uzan was ranked 45. Will Richard from Belmont was ranked 46. And then Walter Clayton Jr. ranked 69th. Nice. From Iona. He also only had 3 Division I scholarships when he was coming out of high school in Florida. And even one of those scholarships, Rick Pitino had a phenomenal line about him. Did you guys hear a couple of days ago they wrote a story on the recruitment of Walter Clayton Jr. to Iona?
No.
One of Rick Pitino's assistants, last name McGriff. I don't think it's Fred. But
Crime dog.
yes, that's right. McGriff took Clayton to a virtual exposure camp in Orlando where activities were streamed live for college basketball coaches. Okay, so McGriff worked with Walter Clayton. An assistant for Rick Pitino caught a glimpse of Clayton and shared it with the Iona coach. Pitino had a harsh Sorry, I'm just laughing at this next line. Pitino had a harsh assessment. Fat, slow, and can't shoot, but he can pass. Following the Zoom interview, Pitino and Iona offered Clayton a scholarship to attend the small college. Without visiting, Clayton committed. Patino's first assessment of Walter Clayton in high school. Fat, slow, and can't shoot, but he can pass. You can look at him when it's up close to him. You can see there's some baby fat on Walter Clayton. He's got the face. You can tell maybe in high school he might have been a little bit pudgier there. Sturdier, yes, maybe not as sudden as some guards out there. And you can see, well, if Pitino looked at him and said, well, he's slow, he's overweight, or as he called him, fat, and he can't shoot, well, no wonder he doesn't have Division I scholarship offers.
Imagine if Luka can't shoot.
Yeah, right. The old Blutarski line. The fat, drunk, and stupid, son, is no way to go through life.
That's so true. And if there's a coach that you're going to go and play for to lose weight, it would be Rick Pitino. He's very famous, or as his players would say, infamous, for having the treadmills on the sideline of basketball practices. And some players having to stay on the treadmill the entire practice if they do certain things. If you're going to get in shape, that's the coach to go and get in shape with. But, I mean, again, St. John's people wanted Walter Clayton because he could shoot at that point. You had a couple of years of seeing him at St. John's. Like, wow, this guy's a pretty good shooter. But, when Elijah Martin commits from FAU, are Florida fans, jumping up and down and going crazy that the 129th player in the portal committed to Florida? Ruben Chinyelu from Washington State, the 104th player in the portal. Oh, thank God you got Chinyelu. I mean, when Miles Kelly at Auburn, it's the 62nd player in the transfer portal. Heck yeah, you got that guy. Maybe changing the view a little bit on that. Tysher next. Clock hour, fact or fiction with Todd Lebo coming up. We'll continue talking some college basketball, the national championship last night, Florida knocking off Houston. Let's talk some football right now with Adam Teicher from ESPN, our Chiefs insider, joining us here in the zone. Adam, how are you, sir?
Good, Jason. How are you doing today?
I am doing just fine. I wanted to start off with the news of the Chiefs and the local pro day and the 53 players that were there for the Kansas City Chiefs with, the players from around the area, whether that be Mizzou or K-State or KU, Central Missouri, Northwest Missouri State, a number of others, sort of Missouri Western as well. How often do you think, and I did not take the time to go back and look, so I apologize, but how often do you think something comes from this? Because I understand no stone, unturned and trying to find any, player from anywhere. And if it's an undrafted guy, well, at least we had him in a little bit and got to know him and watched him work out. But how often do you think they find players from the local pro days that they conducted last couple of days?
Not very often. Those things are nice and they're fun for the kids for sure. But the Chiefs have done their homework, and every other team has as well done their homework on all these guys. You never know. Every once in a while, somebody might catch their eye a little bit, but and it's just another more evidence for the team about what kind of player the guy is. So that always helps. If you're on the fence maybe about a guy, maybe you can learn a little something about him. But I don't know that this is a huge piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, my buddy just texted me and said Echo Boydo was a local pro day a couple of years ago with the Chiefs. So, but again, it can happen. Just how often does that happen? Not very often. But hey, there's one.
So, yeah, and
right.
It took him. It took the Chiefs a while to warm up to him. He wasn't initially on their undrafted free agent list. He kind of came in and won a job after the rookie tryout, the rookie camp. He was here on a tryout basis, and the Chiefs kind of liked him then. So they said, okay, yeah, we'll bring him to camp. So even then, it wasn't necessarily his pro day at Arrowhead. It was more what he did during the rookie camp.
One of the things that sort of stands out here and looking through some of the names, and I don't know where the range of these, all of the different players are going to be drafted, but, a conversation we've had about running back has come up so often, and one of the running backs was Devin Neal, and that's not expected to be an undrafted guy. I mean, that's a guy that, could be, fourth, fifth rounder, maybe third rounder if he impresses a team enough. It only takes one team to believe that you're a third rounder to draft you in the third round. But that I thought was that stood out to me because that guy is expected to be drafted on Saturday and not necessarily, in a seventh rounder like an Isaiah Pacheco, but local guy there with the Chiefs and working out. And, hey, another opportunity to impress a team to say, maybe I would be worth, maybe you trade back from the third or fourth round and you pick up a fifth rounder or a high sixth. I might be worth it at that point to draft me if he's there at that particular time. I thought that was interesting and stood out that, there's a number of guys that are expected to be undrafted, but he's certainly expected to go at some point on Friday or more likely Saturday.
Yeah, it's not just, after the draft free agents or guys you're looking at for to fill in some gaps at rookie camp or anything like that. I mean, this can be, draftable players if the guy wants to come and participate. The team certainly likes to have him. And, regarding Devin Neal and the Chiefs, I've been going through the Chiefs roster and looking at getting ready for the draft and preparing not just so much for this year, but looking at where the roster stands for next year for 2026 at running back. The Chiefs don't have really anybody other than Carson Steele under contract right now for beyond 2025. I mean, Pacheco's in the last year of his contract. Mitchell's on a one-year deal. Hunt's on a one-year deal. They're really they really can use some long term. They really can use some help at running back. So I'd be surprised if they didn't. I said this last year as well, but I'm doubling down on it now because I think even more so. They need a running back and a young guy. Doesn't have to be a first round guy or anything like that, but a middle or late round guy certainly. So I'd be surprised if the Chiefs left this draft without a back.
Yeah.
I think to me it diminishes their draft a little bit. I don't like to judge a draft just on what they do positionally, but there's got to be a point in this draft where need or even future need meets where their board is. So I feel like, to me, it's a little bit of a loss for them if they can't find somebody to throw into that mix this year and maybe get him ready to be even if he doesn't play a whole lot as a rookie, maybe to get him ready to be a part of things in a bigger way in 2026.
Yeah, I want to talk about what you wrote about Elijah Mitchell a couple of days ago, but looking through this real quick just to put a bow on it, another text from same buddy, Phillip Brooks last year. So apparently Kansas State taken care of. So Phillip Brooks was a guy.
Forgot about him. Yeah, for sure.
Last year. But also, like, in terms of guys that are going to be drafted too, like looking through the defensive backs, I mean, Jacob Parrish's name might be called on Friday night of the draft, and he was there yesterday with the Chiefs from Kansas State. So, it's all different range of players there with that pro day. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Absolutely. And but positionally, to me, the Devin Neal thing, whether it's him specifically or someone else, I think it makes way too much sense this year.
So you wrote about Elijah Mitchell, and I wonder, like, from people that you've talked to or with the Chiefs, there has to be an expectation that they believe that hamstring is going to be fully recovered and repaired, and it's going to be, Elijah Mitchell when he was healthy, which isn't, very often, but when he was healthy, what do you think he does bring to the table for this Chiefs team, and are the Chiefs expecting that he's going to be, and maybe is he expecting he's going to be the guy he was before he had to miss last year with that hamstring surgery?
Yeah, well, it's been 4 years now, so it's can he get that back? I don't know. I mean, he said, last year didn't play at all, and in the 2 years, 22 and 23, were interrupted by injuries, and he really wasn't the same player he was as a rookie. So, hey, it's a low-risk thing for the Chiefs, but I feel like, A, there's upside, but B, they sort of need him. I mean, I don't see him as a guy who, if it doesn't work out, it's no big deal. What's nothing lost. I don't feel that way. Hey, let's see again what they do in the draft, and maybe they can, find a guy who can help him out and play, even if Mitchell isn't healthy for him. But I think he's such a different guy from what they have right now at running back. Excuse me, from what they've had the last couple of years at running back. I mean, when was the last time they've had a guy like him? Maybe, excuse me, maybe Jerick McKinnon a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like he is something they need, and is so much different than Isaiah Pacheco or Kareem Hunt that it's a good thing for the Chiefs if he's healthy and playing well. I think they'll really benefit from that.
Visiting with Adam Teicher from ESPN Chiefs Insider, one of the things he talked about was, and Andy Reid, alluded to it as well, that the ability to catch the ball and flex them out, and he did that in San Francisco. And Elijah, Mitchell saying, when he was in San Francisco, he did all the passing game stuff in practice. And he said just being able to actually do it in Kansas City, it's going to open up a lot of things, not just for me, but for the team. It's going to be incredible. Boy, we heard when they drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire that one of the great things about Edwards-Helaire is they can flex him out. They can put him as a wide receiver. He can do these different option routes that he did at LSU. And so sort of the same thing of Elijah Mitchell. Do the Chiefs ever actually go down the route, or will the Chiefs go down the route of saying, you know what, we're actually going to use this running back as a wide receiver from time to time, and not just sort of, hey, he can do it if we ever want to do it, but we don't really do it that often in the course of a game plan?
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to use him, and that's one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing in OTAs is what role do they, how do they use him as a receiver? Do they just throw him the ball out of the backfield, or do they move him around and as Andy Reid suggests they will, and maybe try to get some use out of him that way? So, I do think, he's a guy who they can do that type of thing more than they've been able to do with other backs the last few years. So I'm interested to see how this one turns out. I don't think this has the potential maybe to be a higher impact signing than what that contract might suggest when he signed it.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same, but if they were to do that, I know one team that has taken it to the extreme, or a couple teams, McCaffrey in Carolina and in San Francisco. That's a different animal. That's a whole different thing. But Devon Achane, that ends up with the Dolphins, and his rookie year, they were sort of figuring him out, and he had some injuries. And then this last year, they're like, Achane is our starting running back, and we're going to use him as a wide receiver as well. And he had 78 catches last year, as a running back. They would line him up out wide and run slant routes to him and wide receiver screen passes to him. Like, they would use him, half the time as just a regular wide receiver while also coming in the backfield and being a running back. Like, they looked at Achane and said, he's just a weapon. We're going to use him in different places because his speed is different. And his speed is different than Elijah Mitchell's, too. Like, his speed is just ridiculous overall. But, I've wondered if the Chiefs would ever go down that route of having just a playmaker and saying, this is a running back, well, then he's going to be a wide receiver, too, because that's what he does, and or bring him in the backfield. And I don't know if you're going to draft somebody like that, but it would be interesting because I really felt like that's what Clyde Edwards-Helaire was going to be doing more of. Line him up in the slot. He can run the option routes and do some different things that he was able to do at LSU. But that obviously never came to fruition. In fact, it feels like not since maybe Kareem Hunt have they used a running back out of the backfield to have as many receptions.
Yeah. That Hunt was probably the most versatile running back they've had in terms of what he could do as a receiver that the Chiefs have had in some time. And you're right about Edwards-Helaire. I remember that his rookie training camp. That was the year that was the COVID training camp, so fans weren't allowed. But I was at all the practices, and I remember thinking and saying at the time, his impact immediately is going to be as a receiver because he was doing some really good things in that part of the game, and it just never really materialized with him. And I think the Chiefs are expecting maybe a bigger impact from Mitchell in that area if he can stay healthy. But I don't know. I mean, that to me is the first step. Keeping the guy in the lineup. I feel like with where the Chiefs are right now at running back, it just still looks really thin to me. Pacheco's still coming off the injury. Kareem Hunt at kind of an advanced age for a running back. Mitchell with his injury history. I just think there's a big need for another body, and I think they're making a mistake if this is the way they go to training camp. They need somebody else, I think, who's a serious contender to make the roster.
Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN. Let's talk about some of the news that came out last week. And the NFL will release their schedule coming up next month after the draft, and we'll find out, the order and which weeks in which the Chiefs will play their opponents and which bye week. It seems like there's a pretty decent chance that they will be that Friday night against the Chargers. The leader, it seems like that it's going to be Chiefs and Chargers in Brazil on Friday night. But maybe the biggest piece of news is Clark Hunt and the Chiefs wanting to be the Christmas Day Cowboys. And every single year, there's at least one team that will be playing on Christmas Day, and that will be the Kansas City Chiefs. What do you make of this development and the Chiefs trying to strike while the iron's hot of being a sort of a mainstay and a tradition that the NFL adopts for Christmas Day, that it is wrapped around the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah, and they've been talking about that for a while. That's not necessarily new development. They've been saying for a little while that they've been holding their hand up to the league and saying, hey, if the league's going to do a Christmas game every year or more than one Christmas game every year, we'd like to be involved. And so, I think I don't know how good the chances are, but they would like to do that. And you remember when the league started the Thursday night or the Thanksgiving night game. Remember there were just the two games, Detroit and Dallas, and then they started in with the third game, and the Chiefs were the first home team for that as a tribute to Lamar Hunt. They wanted to honor him. He's been wanting in on Thanksgiving for a lot of years. He had been wanting in on Thanksgiving, so the Chiefs gave him that. The league gave him that home game. They played the Broncos. And the Chiefs were hoping that would be an every year thing, and it didn't work out for them. But now things are different. The Chiefs are the hot franchise. Maybe that makes a difference in the league's eyes, and they'll do it. And I think there can be some scheduling benefits. The Chiefs can get that little extra bye that maybe if Thanks or Christmas is on a whatever, Thursday or a Friday, the Chiefs can get that extra time before their next game. So sort of a late season mini bye if it works out that way in the schedule, if they're going to be a Christmas Day constant. So we'll see how it works out, but it is an interesting thing, and maybe the league will look a little different on them this time than they did with that Thursday night, the Thanksgiving night game.
Yeah, that Thanksgiving night game, I remember that was the first game that I covered because somebody here at the office on Thanksgiving Day all of a sudden is like, I can't go. And so Lebo called me and was like, hey, can you cover the game? I'm like, yes, I will cover the game. So that's the first game that I got to cover. And if you remember, Adam, in the locker room, I can't remember who we were interviewing, but you gave me a shoulder and a nudge and an elbow, and you said, get out of the way, punk, get out of my interview. And that was a cool welcome to the NFL moment for me, Adam.
That was you? Now you're telling me something I didn't know. I remember that well, and but I didn't know it was you.
Adam Teicher is our guest from ESPN. Do you like the idea of them?
He would have knocked you down a little bit harder if he would have known it was you, Jason.
Yeah, I was just trying to get you, punk. I haven't seen you around here. I'm trying to do a one-on-one, and you're sneaking in with that stupid microphone. Punk.
There you go, rookie.
Do you like the idea of if they do become the Christmas Day mainstay and, as Clark Hunt said, trying to become the, quote, world's team? Do you like them playing every year?
I know they love the idea. I mean, from a business standpoint, they think it's going to be make a world of difference. So I know they love that part of it. And as far as football, I mean, I'm sure Andy Reid probably wouldn't be crazy about the idea of a short week every year in the middle or toward the end of the season when it works out that way. But again, some years they'll be able to use it as kind of a mini bye. If the game's on a Thursday or a Friday, they can get that extra time, or a Wednesday like it was this past year. They can get that extra time to use it as a bye, or a mini bye. So I think there's more upside to this than downside, not just from a football standpoint, but from marketing as well. So I do think they like it, and for me, I mean, I won't be there anymore, but at least I'll get a chance. I know I'll be able to catch the Chiefs every year on Christmas.
Yeah, that's right. I was going to say, you don't have to worry about covering it anymore, so it's all good with you. So, hey, I love it. Great, that's fine. To heck with those other kids that are going to be, having to cover the team there and there in the locker room and things like that. I'm going to be good. I'm going to be enjoying some Christmas Day ham or some turkey or some roast beef. I don't know. It's a brisket, man. I don't know. It's going to be enjoying some nice little meals.
Yeah, having to work on Christmas is now someone else's problem. It won't be mine anymore, for sure.
Right. Last one for you, Adam, and this would be maybe getting into the minds of the Kansas City Chiefs, but I brought this up last week and was just sort of wondering that, with the Chiefs going down this route, and I'd mentioned that Thursday night game, and you brought that up as well, that Thanksgiving, that, hey, the first opportunity to go a third game, hey, the Chiefs, we want to be that, and an homage to and honoring Lamar Hunt. I wonder if the Christmas Day for the Chiefs is a little bit of a, in your face, or a we've arrived or maybe surpassed the Dallas Cowboys and the star on the helmet for a family that it was in Dallas and started a franchise in Dallas and eventually had to move to get out of the shadow of the Cowboys and to Kansas City. and a team that's been there in Thanksgiving and, quote, America's team in the city that the Hunts still live in, that, hey, we're going to be the world's team. We have surpassed you in ratings. We are the number one attraction with people watching. We are the number one attraction with networks that all want the Chiefs games, the world's, games. Friday night Brazil, they have not sold that package yet to a streaming service. So having the Chiefs there could increase the money that they could get from, a streaming service to broadcast that game. And if they become the Christmas Day team, how much of this is the analogy I used is not Clark to Lamar. It is not that at all. I'm going to use something that people may confuse, is that how much is this the kid trying to, earn the dad's, how proud he is, the pride, like, I'm proud of you, son, or hearing that. And I'm not saying that from Clark to Lamar. I'm just using the example of the Chiefs to the Cowboys, of like fighting that uphill battle of catching the Cowboys. And now it's like, we're the world's team. We're on Christmas Day and we're the number one draw. We're America's team. We're the world's team. How you like that, Cowboys?
Yeah, and if you're the Chiefs, that's just another reason to like the idea, right? I mean, it's just another way to win that old what used to be a hometown battle. Yeah. So hey, there's those franchises had a pretty good rivalry back in the day, and unfortunately they don't play but once every 4 years anymore. So it's kind of lost some of that. But yeah, I can see what you're saying. It's that's just another reason, if you're the Chiefs, to enjoy this if it comes to be.
Dylan, the smart guy that he is, said it's called the Preston Road Trophy with Chiefs and Cowboys.
It's a long-standing tradition between the two teams. So I think we won the last one. So we hold the Preston Trophy as of now.
There you go. And if they're the world's team and the number one draw and the number one rating the last 2 years have been the Kansas City Chiefs and America's team and the Christmas Day every year, well, then that's the bigger Preston Road Trophy to earn for the Hunt family. That we left Dallas, but we've now surpassed you.
And remember, the America's team is only given to the Cowboys because the Steelers didn't want it at the time, because Art Rooney literally said, "This is too pompous. I don't want to be calling myself America's team." And the Cowboys and Tex Schramm were like, "We'll do that.
Hell yeah,
hell yeah,
we'll be America's team."
So you guys are saying the Lombardi Trophy is greater than the Preston Road Trophy? Is
Some might
saying.
say
you're
that.
Going out on a limb and saying that, right?
Who knows?
I don't know.
Depending.
I think Dylan's saying that Clark Hunt is pompous by saying he wants to be the world's team.
That is a stretch.
That's what I heard.
No.
That's what I heard there. Adam, you're the man. Appreciate it as always, brother. Couple of weeks away from figuring out who the Chiefs actually took in the NFL draft. We'll talk next week. Appreciate you, brother.
All right. Good stuff, Jason. Talk to you next week.
Absolutely. There's Adam Teicher from ESPN joining us. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. I want to get into some things from college basketball that I wanted to talk about in the first hour. We'll get into it here in the next segment. Les Norman joins us at noon, talking some Royals baseball. Todd Lebo at 1 o'clock, some Fact or Fiction with Todd Lebo. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes and Dylan Michaels. We had up until 2 o'clock. We'll talk with Les Norman coming up at noon. 1 o'clock, Todd Lebo. Fact or Fiction with Todd Lebo.
Fact.
Fact or Fiction, you are done with your questions.
Fact.
Oh, how about that? Look at you. Nice
wow,
job,
you
dude.
seem surprised.
Well, yes, I'm very surprised, actually.
You hear? Wow, proud of you. You my dad now, Jay? I'm proud of you, son.
Old
Like,
enough
what?
to be your
Dylan,
dad.
can you believe this guy?
Old enough to be your dad. I don't think I am.
No,
I
you
mean,
would have been
in-
really. I mean,
In theory,
technically,
maybe. In theory,
Like, technically speaking, yeah, but it would be,
odd. It'd be weird. Be very, very weird to have a 30-year-old son at the age of 44. 913.
Good for you.
Yeah, you're welcome. 913-912-4810. Let's move right on past that. And we talked a lot of college basketball in the first hour and the championship for the Florida Gators. And one of the things that I want to look at and sort of examine, and I mentioned it just a little bit, of looking at Florida and Houston and how the transfer portal rankings went from the teams that were playing in the championship game last night. And the 8 players that were on the floor last night that transferred into their school. Of all the players that played at least a minute, Houston has 3 transfers and Florida has 5 transfers. Walter Clayton, Will Richard, Elijah Martin, Ruben Chinyelu, and David Handlogden.
I believe it's Micah.
Is it Micah Handlogden?
I believe it's Micah.
I'll take your word for it. David, Michael, and David. Micah. Houston, L.J. Cryer, Milos Uzan, and Malik Wilson are the 3 transfers for Houston. Auburn had 4. Janai Broom, Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, and Chad Baker-Mazzara. And then Duke had 3. Sion James, Malik Brown, and Mason Gillis. So looking at all of the different transfers that played in this Final Four, 15 of them total of the transfers that played in the Final Four. There was only 1 that was ranked in the top 10 of their transfer portal year. And that was L.J. Cryer, was number 6. Only 2 of them ranked in the top 20 of their transfer portal year. Number 13 was Janai Broom from Morehead State. So when we look at like the top 20, top 25 rankings, heck, you can even say top 25 because Handlogden was number 27. So even if you look at the top 25 rankings of the transfer portal in any particular year, none of those guys that played on Saturday or last night, even a minute, were in the top 25 of the transfer portal rankings.
3 of the top 40. I mean, that's only 3 in the top 40.
Right. Now, if you go to top 50, you've got Denver Jones was number 41. You've got Milos Uzan was number 45, and Will Richard was number 46.
Yeah.
So you've got, 5 in the top 50, 6 in the top 50 out of the players that played. But the good majority of them, Walter Clayton, number 69, Miles Kelly, number 62, Malik Brown, 66, Sion James, 61, Malik Wilson for Houston last night that had a big game and banked in a 3. Called the bank. It was odd. He's like, bank's open here in San Antonio.
I love when they do it, and they do the Jordan shrug.
Like, I did not. My son was like, did he do that on purpose? I said, no, not at all. Sometimes better to be lucky than good. What he did do on purpose was catch that alley-oop with his left hand while flying through the air and then bringing it back and dunking it. Like, that catch was ridiculous.
Yes.
He had himself a good game. The 207th ranked transfer from Texas Tech that Kelvin Sampson is called one of the best off-ball defenders in college basketball. Play your role. Like, he's not out there to score 30 points. The 7 or 8 or 9 points that he had last night, I think, it's equal to how many points he scored in the tournament so far. But he had that steal against Duke.
Yeah.
He missed the 3, but then, the offensive rebound put back, they were down by 3. Like, he had that steal and, got that done. Like, in fact, Wilson was one of the guys that hit one of the 3s against Kansas, right? Late in that game when they came back from 6 down and stole the inbound. I think Malik Wilson hit that 3. So, Elijah Martin was number 129. Ruben Chinyelu was number 104. And obviously the most outstanding player we've talked about was the 69th best player.
Nice.
In the transfer portal, 2 years ago from Iona, in which Rick Pitino said he's fat and slow and can't shoot. but he can pass. Let's give him a scholarship to Iona. That was Rick Pitino's first year there. Would Rick Pitino give him a scholarship now? No, because he was at Iona, and it was his first year, and he's rebuilding the team. And he saw a kid that was fat, slow, can't shoot, but he could pass, so let's bring him in, because this guy can at least pass it to shooters. He can at least pass it to somebody that's athletic and can shoot. And he is one hell of a passer, because even when his shot wasn't falling, when he stopped forcing it, he picked up like 7 or 8 assists along the way.
7, yeah.
7 of them. And so, in a number of inbound passes or in transition, those passes ahead to Condon or Handel Ogden or Hauk, and he certainly can pass, but he became just a dead-eye shooter and a shot maker. And, looking at the local transfer portals and the rankings, and certainly we can get into this year, but I do think there's an element of, grain of salt with this year. K-State just got the 49th ranked player in Abdi Bashir Jr. from, I feel like it's a West Coast team.
Was the other one I sent the picture of last night to you guys?
I feel like it's a West Coast team that he's transferring from.
Monmouth.
Monmouth, like I said, definitely from Monmouth.
Do we know where Monmouth is located?
I don't think the West Coast.
I was going to say east.
Yeah, I think it's.
I feel like it's going to be.
Yeah,
it's in New Jersey.
It's
yeah,
New Jersey.
you
yes.
nailed it.
Like I said, West Coast. At least it's not the exact opposite part of the country.
Well, you know what? I will say this: it's in West Long Branch.
There we go. That's
New
what I was
Jersey.
thinking.
Yeah,
it was the west of the coast of the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, West Long Branch.
Wester
yeah,
of
so
beaches.
you nailed it. You
got it.
Right on it.
Killed it. There you go. I tip it. When it comes to geography and where guys transfer from, I just couldn't remember it was from Monmouth. I'm like, I know it was a smaller school, and he's a big-time scorer from a smaller school, but I don't remember.
West Long Branch, right next
go.
to a Jersey Mike's and the ocean.
Right. That's what I said. It's the west side. You know what I mean? He was a big fan of Death Row Records because that was
great
West
great
Coast.
location. I'll tell you what, that's a fun college to go to.
I bet.
If I had a couple of years of eligibility, I might go to Monmouth.
Yeah, you don't, though. Well, you know what? He's going to Kansas State. He's going to be hanging out in Aggieville, west of the state line here. So there's a lot of west with Abdi Bashir. But looking at the local players and the rankings, Hunter Dickinson was number 1 when he came out. And if you just look at the raw numbers of what Hunter Dickinson brought to the table, you'd be like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. Number 1 player in the transfer portal. This guy's like 18 and 12 per game, just a walking double-double. Can step out and knock down some threes. 7-footer. Has some 30-point games. Yeah, I understand why he would be the number 1 transfer portal player. But there were a number of people at Michigan that would be like, yeah, I could have warned you about what you were getting with Hunter Dickinson, that, people weren't really all that upset that he left. But still, there's a little bit of
empty calories.
Could be a little sour grapes too.
True.
Along with, I don't care. Good, leave. Good riddance. You know what I mean? I didn't like him anyway. But A.J. Storr was number 4 in the transfer portal rankings. Zeke Mayo, 23. That's right around. Well, you know what? From how he played and fit in, I would say he's probably a top 25 transfer player this year.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Rylan Griffin, 37. I don't know that he would be a top 150 transfer player this year, but he did start for KU. So number 37. Shaq Moore, 275, and Diggy Coit, 468.
Wow.
I mean, Diggy Coit brought more to the table than Rylan Griffin. I know that Coit wasn't very tall. He's a smaller stature fella, but
I'm shocked it went to 468.
I am too. It just kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. It's like, oh, Diggy Coit, 468. All right, fantastic.
At some point, these good just go not ranked.
Well, that's Josh Gray. Oddly enough, for Mizzou,
how
not
far
ranked.
Down? How many numbers did you get to? 1,000?
I can no
500.
No, I think it might have been 500. But he also played like somebody that wouldn't really show up in some transfer portal rankings. Although a 7-footer from South Carolina, I know I put Wake Forest there, but a 7-footer from South Carolina that's played at a couple of other big time schools. you'd probably rank him somewhere.
And I actually thought Josh Gray played fine this year.
He was okay. He was all right. Whatever. For the role of, I guess, what they wanted
against Kansas, he was pretty damn good.
Yeah, he hit a crazy shot.
I'll say that against KU, Josh Gray was good. That's probably why I have him so highly ranked. And he had a great mustache.
Okay, sure. I mean, if the mustache gives you the benefit of the doubt, that's fine.
Yeah, I'd give him at least $4.99.
You give him at least 3.5 mustaches.
That's a 3.5 on a scale of 5 mustaches. That's a 3.5 mustache.
That's the new Sterling ranking
scale
system. It's like buckets of popcorn, the stars and thumbs up and things like that. It's how many mustaches for that guy? About the 3.5, 4 mustaches.
But for Kansas, it's a good point because Hunter Dickinson probably played like a top 10. If we're being honest, top 10. Number 1, maybe a little high. Zeke Mayo.
530 for this last year. 530.
530 for
530 players.
But Kansas might be the most fascinating, especially once we get into Mizzou and K-State, because KU did get the higher recruits, and once you start getting even to K-State, Coleman Hawkins, 21.
But was like one of the last players available.
Yes.
Like he was number 21, but he was like the last time to get a difference maker, and so 7 figures is what it cost you. And, $2 million, whatever. To get a difference maker, how much people think he is a difference maker. Was he worth $2 million difference maker? Probably not. But he's the guy left. You get into a bidding war, and Kansas State says, we need this guy. So if we're going to be closer to 2023 than last year in 2024, Coleman Hawkins is going to be worth it to this team. So let's bring him in. They got Doug McDaniel. They had Housen. They had Max Jones. They had Ugo Onyensu. They had C.J. Jones, and they needed another guy, and they got Coleman Hawkins and, spent the last of their budget. And maybe they were being more efficient with their money just in case they had to outbid somebody at the end. Maybe that was the case. I don't know. But Hawkins at number 21, is he worth $2 million? No. But how he played? Yeah. The top 25 transfer player. Yeah, I mean, the guy was really good for K-State this year. It's just that, we knew that if you said he made $100,000, be like, wow, what a player.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
that's what's hard with NIL, too, because you see it, and it's kind of like with Hunter Dickinson and with, obviously, A.J. Storr and Coleman Hawkins, the viewpoint is so much different than a guy like even, let's say, from Missouri, like a Tamar Bates or a Mark Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb Grill was the 222nd ranked transfer portal player. Obviously, he played a lot better. There was a lot of teams that would have loved to pay a lot more money for Caleb Grill than what they actually were willing to pay. As Dylan says, yeah, Kansas would like to have a shooter like that out there on the floor.
Well, if you saw the full Caleb Grill experience, his years in Missouri, the last years, and then a third of this year or a quarter of this season, you'd say he definitely played like the 222nd best player.
No,
but also three quarters of this year he played like a top 20.
He was injured last year, and this year, I mean, even when he wasn't knocking down shots, like he was the focal point of some defenses. What would he have done for Hunter? If Caleb Grill's running off screens on the baseline side to side, and you've got Hunter setting screens, and the big man's trying to come out and hedge to keep Caleb Grill from getting a wide open shot, and boom, slip screen to drop down to Hunter for a layup.
They wanted Rylan Griffin to be.
Right.
Basically. And then Timberlake before him.
Right. But Caleb Grill showed like, okay, this guy can hit from anywhere on the floor, from NBA range, turnarounds, coming off a screen, and opened up some things, So 222nd, yeah. I mean, he was ranked behind Jacob Cruz and Marquez Warwick.
I get Warwick because of the scoring prowess he had at a smaller school, of course. What's even funny is I think Jacob Cruz with Caleb Grill would have made a lot of sense with Hunter Dickinson and DeJuan Harris and KJ Adams.
A.J. Storr and Rylan Griffin for Jacob Cruz and Caleb Grill.
What's funny is it may have been a better fit for Kansas.
Yeah, and honestly,
may have been a better fit for Missouri.
Well, Jacob Cruz, because they had shooters, so maybe they just needed a scorer, as in like A.J. Storr. Like, hey, go get buckets. Probably not Rylan Griffin, but go get buckets. But like Mark Mitchell,
you do that? Can Missouri and KU? Can you get the? It's already become a professional. Can you trade?
Why not?
Can we have in-season trades?
Why
Trade deadline?
Why not? Let's do it. But Mark Mitchell was number 14. And I think he played like that. He was a big-time player from Mizzou this year. Tamar Bates was number 97. Tony Perkins was 52. But my takeaway from looking at this, and we'll get Todd Lebo's thoughts on this in the 1 o'clock hour, and also the comments from Hunter Dickinson, on the Field of 68 podcast, talking about, the money that people say Kansas has or what he gave up and things like that. My takeaway is like, whether it's the assessment of how good the players are in the transfer portal, or if it's fit, that maybe AJ Storr goes somewhere else and plays like the number 4 transfer portal player in America. Maybe Rylan Griffin goes somewhere else and plays like the number 37 player in America. Maybe Diggy Coit is in a different situation than playing at Kansas and getting that opportunity. It's like, sort of an also-ran type player. Like, a big part of it is fit, but it's also development, and it's not just paying attention to who are the top 20 players, top 25 players. Go and get the best players available. It's build a roster. And Bill Self is not getting the top 10, top 15, top 20 players. Out of high school, it was a big deal because you could develop those players. And if they left, they had to sit out a year, And if it was like, this guy's the 50th best player in the country, beautiful. Not a one and done. A guy that's going to come in, develop, and sophomore, junior year is going to be really good, and maybe then he goes off to the NBA.
And you're typically adding maybe 1 or 2, not an entire roster overhaul of these players as well.
And now it's like, do you just go and get the best possible transfers available? I don't know. It depends on who it is. You know what I mean? Depends on what they, can bring to the table. I wouldn't turn it down. Like, Bennett Sturts was the number 2 player in the transfer portal. I think every team in America would love to have a Bennett Sturts.
Yes.
He'll find a way to fit in. You'll find a way to use him different ways. And somehow Iowa got him. I have no idea how Iowa got Bennett Sturts. It's just crazy. I don't know how they got Stinnett either. Ben Sternett. I mean, how'd they get that guy too? It's crazy. I thought he was in Washington, playing tight end. But also you got R.J. Lewis, that's number 3, that's still sitting out there. I mean, all these other guys have committed. There's only a couple that are available. The big 7-footer that we had talked about that was available. What was his name? The 6th-rated player, Quaintance from Arizona State. Like, he just committed to Kentucky today. So we're like, there's these players that are out there available, but who's going to take R.J. Lewis? Is he going to end up at Missouri or K-State or KU and say, no, this guy's a big-time scorer? We'll figure it out. When you can be the Big East Player of the Year, you can drop 20 points on any given night. Yeah, we'll take that guy. And we'll figure out what the problem was with Rick Pitino, and we'll coach it. Or maybe you're desperate and you need somebody, and you bring that guy in.
I think his comments after the game, or at least he went on Stephen A. Smith's show,
RJ
Lewis, and goes, Pitino could have done, quote, a better job of coaching me up. When you hear that,
I don't like that.
That's not.
I don't need the coach to be the one coaching you up. I mean, he could have done a better job coaching me up, or he could have done a better job of what I felt like my skills were in fitting in with the game and utilizing that from a standpoint that I felt this and this went underserved, and that's why I'm transferring. Loved my time with Rick Pitino, and we did a lot of great things, but he didn't do a good enough job of coaching me up. Like, yeah, you're the one that needs to be out there playing hard. Like, there's an element of the coaches that he didn't inspire me enough to go and play hard and play basketball really hard in the round of 32 in the NCAA tournament. He didn't really get me to go and give it all I had and leave it out there on the floor.
He's also put his name in the NBA draft too.
Oh, good for him.
So
maybe, yeah,
he's trying to do both.
So maybe that's why he
transfer portal and plans to enter the NBA draft.
You know what? So there's probably a decent reason as to why he hasn't committed then. Go through the draft process and then commit after that. Yeah. I don't know. I have no idea. But portal closes on the 22nd. Doesn't mean you can't go and play somewhere after the 22nd. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling, wrap up this hour. Les Norman coming up at noon. More Zone next. Talk with Todd Lebo coming up at 1 o'clock and talk some more college basketball with Todd and a Fact or Fiction with Todd Lebo.
Fact.
And some of these way too early top 25s for next year. A lot of them, I shouldn't say a lot of them, a decent amount, at least the ones that I've looked at, have Houston either number 1 or I think The Athletic has them at number 3 because they've got, some stud freshmen coming in. So it's going to be like, okay, Kelvin Sampson is going to go from a very veteran-laden team to a team that might have 3 freshmen starting next year. So what does that look like? Take my chances with that coach. We take our chances talking baseball with Les Norman next. be awful. No, thank you.
I would love to look like
How
that.
dumb is Sterling to try to want to look like that guy?
I think between the four of us, we could come up with a pretty decent, like, 4-on-4 basketball team or something.
This might be the healthiest show in all of radio because it's not a high bar.
Right now.
It's not really a high bar. It's radio we're talking about here, but this might be the. If you're going by BMI, this is probably the best BMI show.
I didn't say any of that.
I just
For
meant
all
in
of our
general.
before and after
didn't say it
shows,
either.
I didn't
No,
say that.
Yeah,
I
I
meant
didn't
of
say it.
all shows,
the
countrywide.
entire
I mean, it's
world.
radio we're talking about here. So, again, not a
I don't
high
know.
bar.
I mean, like McAfee and some of those guys, they're pretty fit.
They have some football players on there, but also they've got some other guys that maybe bring the overall average.
That's
down.
what I'm saying. We don't really
good
have
point.
that.
They do have like 12.
They don't
people.
have production like we have
100%.
production.
Dylan is the most in shape production guy probably
Ever.
We got
ever.
a college athlete, of course. Jake, college athlete in the.
I say Jake.
morning
Yeah,
show.
Jake too.
Jake's taller than I am, man. Jake, he's
Yeah,
a big dude.
He's worked really hard to get in shape,
yeah,
too.
he has.
Yes.
He's worked really hard to
Yeah,
get.
he's
in
done a
shape,
great
man.
job.
Yeah, so mark that off the format.
Speaking of in
Jake
shape,
would be the 5. Like you said 4, a good 4-on-4. If we need a 5-on-5, we just sort of
Yes.
toss
We'll just get
Jake on
Jake.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But speaking of in shape, I mean, I you know how many texts I get that people say, "Dude, I never knew Michael Lorenzen was that yoked."
She is yoked, man.
Yeah, ridiculous.
We were
watching
told
him
as
out there.
pitchers, like, hey, you don't want to bench press or do any, like, curls or anything. But, like, he just said, nah, don't worry about all
Keep
that.
you.
I'll be different and basically be able to bench 450, it looks like.
Well, with the Reds, they had that one day a while ago when he was still playing outfield because he used to also
Yeah.
hit too because he played.
two-way player.
He was a
That's
two-way
right.
player.
That's
And they
right.
had that day where they did sleeveless. Right, it was Michael Lorenzen and Yasiel Puig,
Oh, yeah.
and who was it? Was
Puig,
it
your friend.
Derek Dietrich, I think, was the other guy. And you're just like, what the hell? Why are you guys so yoked? Do you remember this at all, Dylan? I think Dylan remembers that now. But yeah, it was when they did the sleeveless day.
Their shirts
for,
were happy.
for the Reds.
Yeah,
Crazy,
Dude,
Lorenzen.
yeah, I wouldn't want to charge the mound on him. I don't know how good of a fighter he is, but
I think there are a lot of fights you'll never get into just looking like that.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's just a deterrent in and of itself. Although you might have somebody that's like, you know what, I kind of want to challenge
Yeah, there you go.
I want to take on the big guy, So
Yeah.
let me see.
That was what it was. If you look it
Good
up online, yeah,
night.
it's just
Yeah.
dumb.
It's ridiculous.
Right. Typically, that's not, as Dylan said, that's not going to be something to where like, oh, he throws 94. Why? Look how yoked he is. Well, I mean, not necessarily. Look at that skinny dude on the
at
mound that's throwing
Ventura.
97.
Ventura was like
Giordano.
5'11".
Look at Ace.
Yeah.
Look at Leo Nunez.
Pedro.
Yeah, that's more what's in your shoulder and in your legs than what's necessarily
Right.
the yoke side of things.
Exactly, like Greinke's legs were like tree trunks.
Yeah.
And it was like, Greinke's, like, how's he throwing like 97 easy? It
Yeah.
looks like he's just relaxing 97. And then you get close to him, you're like, oh, his legs as he gets, he's walking with trunks as
Yeah.
legs. And
Greinke
all the
was
power
built-
comes from that.
But he was built like a triangle.
He was. I mean, he's built like a hockey player probably, like you got all of that muscle and mass.
Except hockey players can fight.
Yeah, you don't think Greinke can fight?
Do we need to show the replay? Him like trying to shoulder into
We don't.
someone, which put him on the disabled list.
We don't need to see the replay
The
from
Royals
that.
need Kyle Farnsworth. I'm saying it. They need a Kyle
They got
Farnsworth.
Lorenzen, man. Well, do they need it in 3 days from now when they go to Cleveland?
Oh, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe,
know?
maybe. We talked about that last time a little bit. Never
So
know.
We'll see what happens when they head to Cleveland. Hopefully they are, winning 5 in a row.
Yeah.
While heading to Cleveland, if they can take care of business with now Reagans, Lugo, Waka on the mound the next 3 nights
Good trio.
against the Twins.
It's carved through Minnesota.
Yep. Joe Ryan is, one that worries you because he's always really good against the Kansas City Royals. He's always been really good for the Twins against the Royals. But last night, it just, like the last couple nights, just less solid baseball games. Like, hey, you went out there and just simply won. You limited the other team. You scratched across some runs. You win 4-1. You win 4-1. And, the back end of the bullpen shuts it down. A little shaky last night, but they get the job done, and you move on. And there's not like some crazy, like, can't believe this happened, or how awful was that, and you left this guy there, or, oh, my God, you had to work out of a bases-loaded one-out jam. It was just like, 9 innings later, you're just the better team out there, and, you beat a team 4-1.
That's encouraging during the stretch, especially at the beginning of the season. And 5-5 right now, is that
Five
right?
and
Yeah,
five.
5
yeah.
and 5.
One
5
game behind the Tigers,
Right.
game and a half up on the Guardians.
5-5 at this point of the season when you're still trying to figure things out and your corner outfielders still aren't producing. You know, that's not a bad spot to be.
Yeah.
It really isn't. Estevez is still in spring training mode as far as innings go and building up his strength after a bad back, and so yeah, I'd say we're in good shape. We've gotten 2 incredible starts out of Bubic already, so yeah, you know, I think things are pointing up. Now you can't rely on this long haul. You know, Isbell had a good night last night, but he's going to have to hit long term and still keep playing his good defense, and there's going to have to be an answer in this corner outfield, whether by the guys we have or something different if it doesn't work out. But at this stage, last night was a really encouraging win for those reasons you mentioned.
They got 22 hits the last 2 days and 8 runs. So they've been getting guys on base, walking as well. So a number of base runners, whether they've come through in clutch situations or not. The more people you get on base, the less you have to come through with 2 out RBIs. You know, it's like, well, you only got one guy over at second and third, and you didn't drive him in, and then you never got another opportunity after that. Like, how often do we talk about this really good pitcher, and you got bases loaded in the first? You got a chance to really get to him, and then he went 6 innings and shut out baseball, and that was your one chance, and you couldn't come through. Well, I mean, when you get 13 hits and a few other walks and 16, 17 guys on base, get another 9 hits and, 3 or 4 more walks, and you got 12, 13, 14 guys on base. You'd like to score more than 4 runs, but it also makes it less important to where you're like 2 out RBIs can be the complete and total difference in a game. Are you getting the 2 out RBIs or are you giving up the 2 out RBIs? Because, if you're taking care of business with just 1 out or no outs or putting a big inning together or coming close to putting a big inning together, you'd like to see him capitalize a little bit more on some of those opportunities.
Yeah.
But the last 2 nights they've done it, and the pitching staff, giving up 3 total runs. Estevez giving up 1, Bubic giving up 1, Lorenzen, giving up 1. So 3 total runs in the last 2 days. You're going to win a lot of games that way, obviously. But the more and more you pour on the at-bats and the hits and the walks, the less and less the clutch gene you're going to need for somebody to come through with 2 outs and have a momentum swinging, changing play and a hit in a game.
Yeah, the teams at the end of the season that don't win 100 games or 97, 98 games, those are gonna be usually the teams like your wild card teams or the lower end playoff teams that don't get the bye first round are the teams that the majority of the time go through those stretches of, okay, we pitched well today and we didn't hit, so we scratched it across, or pitching gave up 8-9 runs but we scored 12. You know what I mean? And it's that stretch where the offense is hot, and I just think that it's not those lower end playoff teams, if you can call it that, are the teams that can put the most of those games together throughout the season. It seems like, I don't have data to back that up, but it just feels that way. Because how many
those games is in like the clutch 2 out RBIs coming through, or game? What do you mean those games?
I think games overall where the Royals haven't been scoring a lot of runs, but for the past 5-6 games, our pitching has been incredible. Our bullpen's shutting it down, because you guys know as well that there are those stretches where it seems like, man, don't bring that guy in again. He's been getting shelled lately, or the middle of the bullpen. We're hoping our starters go 7 innings so we can get to guys like Ursig and Estevez, because the middle relief is horrible right now because we've seen them blow games. And so I just feel like in the long run, it seems like the more of those games you can put together, not the Dodgers or the Yankees. The Dodgers are scoring 2,800 runs a game, when Ohtani gets 2 home runs on an off night kind of thing. So when we don't have that big payroll and you still have big holes like that, if you can figure out a way to put more of those games together until you get super hot, then you have a better chance back then. That's why I'm encouraged when these games happen early in the season, because they get a taste of what that takes. And baseball players are creatures of habit. We just are. And so you remember that.
Good teams win these games.
Yep.
Playoff teams win these games. When Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez, your 2 best hitters, have bad games. When Vinny's only hit was the bloop that almost got lost by the left fielder. When your back 3 bullpen arms clearly don't have their best stuff. Lucas, Hunter, and Carlos. I think we can all agree that those probably the worst outings for all 3. I mean, they've been so good. They fought through. Only Carlos was the one that gave up a run. Ursay was able to fight through it. Hunter as well. Carlos gave up the run, and also the final stop by Michael Massey. Give Massey a lot of credit, which I think Carlos was giving him with that little Kamehameha, whatever that Dragon Ball Z thing is, because he did it right.
You guys talking
he
about
did it
that.
right towards Michael Massey, like, hey, thanks for getting that 100 and whatever it was, 5-mile-an-hour scorcher. But winning those games when your pitchers don't have your best stuff, when your best hitters are lost at the plate, and you're still finding ways to beat your AL Central companion, I think a lot of people have as a playoff team in the Twins, that just shows you what this team has. And again, some of the depth. You need to win this game or win these types of games to make the playoffs.
And you need to win those games more when you still have gaping holes in your lineup.
Correct.
Which we do. So you have to be able, because if you can't stem that tide until that gets fixed, and who knows if that's going to get fixed, because players have to be available, they have to be willing, and what are you going to have to give up in order to get that, which you usually pay for on the backside. So yeah, they're going to have to. The question that I always get, are they good enough? Is this going to be playoffs? Because I think oftentimes when you make the playoffs like they did last year, then it's automatic. Well, they're at least the same, if not a little bit better, so it's guaranteed you're going to make the playoffs. It is not guaranteed. And we could have signed 2 corner outfielders for $30 million that we thought were going to hit 50 home runs between the two of them, and between 280 and 320 and 100 RBIs each, and then you don't win and make it to the playoffs. I mean, you just don't know. So just right back to your point, Sterling, good teams win those games, plain and simple.
The Royals are 1-1 in one-run games this year. They had the loss against Milwaukee where Estevez gave up the run in the 10th to tie it, and then Sam Long gave up the run in the 11th for the Brewers to win. Both of those unearned runs, but they lost that game. And then they win 4-3 against Cleveland where Lugo goes 5 innings and gives up 3 earned runs, but then you've got Lynch, Ursig, Estevez for the next 4 innings that give up 2 base runners. And it allowed the offense that then pick up 4 runs to go and win that particular game. And when we look at this team so far in their 10 games, the 5 wins and the 5 losses, if we look at the runs against, so like last 2 nights, 4-1, 4-2, they're winning these games. In the 9 wins, the opposition has scored, the 5 wins, the opposition has scored 9 runs. In the 5 losses, the other team has scored 29 runs. Oof. And some of that is the starters weren't going very long in their first go around through the rotation.
Yep.
And the wrong guys in the bullpen coming into pitch in situations that maybe the game was getting a little out of hand anyway, or this guy's showing that he's not the same as he was last year. But again, in the wins, because it's the starters getting through 6, and then you're handing it off to Harvey, Urseg, Estevez in those particular wins. That's the formula for the Royals. The formula is not Waka went 4 innings and you need Zerpa and Long to get through the next 2 innings, and then hopefully at that point, if Waka only goes 4, how many runs did he give up? So now your offense is going to have to go out there and outperform the opposition. This team last year, Les, went and had 92 starts with Reagans, Lugo, and Waka. So 92 times those guys were on the mound, giving you a chance to win a game. And with that bullpen last year that was so up and down, and really more down than up, and unreliable, that's the optimism and the hope for this year. And the formula is the last 2 nights. You get 4 or 5 runs, and your pitching staff is good enough that they can hand it off to a bullpen that you've got 3 guys that you feel really good about in coming through. And even in a night where they were kind of shaky, they still only gave up 1 run.
Yeah. In any other division in baseball, the Royals can't sustain the stuff you're talking about. But in the AL Central, there's grace, and you have to be able to take advantage of that. I mean, is it the crap division in all of baseball? Yep. I mean, any arguments against? I'd be willing to listen. Go.
You think the AL Central is the worst division in baseball?
I don't think it's the worst, but it's one of the worst.
I don't think there's as many top-end teams. There's no Dodgers or Yankees, but I think from 1 through 4, it's about as competitive 1 through 4 as any other division. 5, yes. There's no qualms with me when it comes to the White Sox.
Probably both Centrals. Like, I don't know how great the
NL Central,
Cubs or the Brewers.
Cubs are pretty good this year.
Cardinals. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're sitting 8-5. They're a game and a half up on the Brewers. But we saw the Royals-Brewers. I mean, they were kind of similar teams, but the East and the West in the National League, and then of course the East in the American League, and I don't know what to make of the West. Like, Texas is winning, but I don't even know what to make of them winning because they've got a negative run differential, and they're 8-3 this year. The Angels,
when they lose really big.
Yeah, the Angels are 3 games above 500, but they've only got probably 5 more games with Mike Trout in the lineup. And then
don't you dare.
Sorry, when did they sell up? Honestly, I joked around it, but it was kind of a joke, and I was like, well, not really a joke, but the name was I said, what's the outfield going to look like in September? And I'm like, well, Garcia in center field, Jack Caglione in right, and a trade in left field, probably Taylor Ward, a guy that they were trying to acquire anyway. And with the Angels, well, they're 6-3 right now, but it doesn't mean that come trade deadline time that Taylor Ward's still going to be an Angel.
I don't know that they can sustain that out there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I don't know what to make of the Houston Astros being 2 games under 500 as well. Seattle, put together a season last year where they were a game, with the Royals away from making the playoffs in a tiebreaker if the Royals didn't come back from 8-0 in that game against the Mariners. So I'd say it's probably the American League West and the American League Central and the NL Central, but just arguing between those.
I think the NL Central is probably the worst top to bottom. Because I don't think there's an elite team in that one, kind of like the AL Central. But I think the Reds, the Pirates, and maybe even the Cardinals that's 3 teams.
I think the Cubs and again, this is not just me as a Cub fan, but I think by All-Star break, the Cubs are going to actually shake out to be one of, if not the best in that division. I think they just got to figure themselves out. I mean, I think, and I know it's early, but I did feel like this was going to happen before the season, that the best signing in the offseason was the Cubs getting Kyle Tucker.
Oh, phenomenal. And I think they'll probably win the NL Central.
Yeah.
With the Brewers, they lost Willie Adames. Willie Adames was maybe their best hitter.
Yes.
Brewers are very pitch-heavy, and that's not been the case so far to start the season. They've been getting shelled, obviously. So,
yeah.
And they've had so many injuries. Yeah, I don't know. I guess my whole point was I don't think the AL Central is as bad as I think a lot of people will initially point out. I think the AL Central is not quite as top heavy as some other ones, but I think 1 through 4. I think there are 4 teams that could make the playoffs, and I would not be surprised.
I think the question would be the American League Central, the American League West. Which one's lower? Because if we say the NL Central, let's say top to bottom NL Central is the 6th. Well, then the 5th, I think the American League Central and the American League West are in the argument of what the 5th would be. An argument we can have at some other time.
Yeah,
but,
I just view it as how many teams could make the playoffs, and you wouldn't be surprised. I think the AL Central has 4 teams. I think the West probably has 3 teams. I think the NL East has 3 teams. You wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I'd say 3 in the West: Texas, Houston, and Seattle. I would be surprised if the Angels or the A's.
Okay, 3. I think same.
Yeah, AL West. You said 3.
I said 3. Yeah,
and I almost said 4, and I'm like, nope, it's 3.
NL East, even they're top heavy. I think 3.
Yeah,
I think I'd be surprised if Marlins.
But they got
Atlanta.
top heavy
yes.
teams. Yeah.
NL Central, I think 1 to 2. Cubs and Brewers, that's about it. And then NL West 4.
Talent-wise, I would agree with you in the sense that there are other divisions and all that. My point when I say one of the worst is that I'll just use the AL Central because the Royals are in it. In this division, when teams are down, we don't seem to have the one team, not a top-end heavy as in payroll talent like the Dodgers that we keep talking about, but in the AL Central, we don't have a team that is proven that they will take advantage of. There are no bullies like the Dodgers in the AL Central. We just don't have a team that ever rises above and says, okay, we're just going to go ahead and take it over and win games we should win. It's like we'll beat Cleveland for a series, and okay, so now we're figuring it out, and then get beat 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 5 by the White Sox. It's maybe the phrase is more inconsistent. The AL Central is more inconsistent as far as what they should be. 1 or 2 teams should be winning, and yet, to your point, yes, 2, 3, even 4 teams are potential to make the playoffs like they did. But there's not enough consistency where you could have a team in the AL Central that is going to do what they should do based on their talent.
Yeah, we'll see. And so far, I would say if there is a team, it'd be the Tigers, because it's a little grain of salt in starting 0-3 against the Dodgers, and then now they're
6-4,
6-1, so 6-4 overall, so 6-1 since losing that game to the Dodgers, and the one loss was a 1-run game in Seattle. Now they swept the White Sox, so it's like, all right, you should get some 3 games there. They had a walk-off against the White Sox. But then they took care of the Yankees, 6-2, last night. So we'll see what they do against the Yankees. I think that game might be on right now.
All their torpedo bats were stolen.
That's exactly right. Well, there are torpedo bats there in Yellowstone Park, which is Detroit. You're not hitting as many home runs there as opposed to playing in the sandbox that the Yankees play in. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and I want to talk about a couple of the hitters for the Royals. We've had a couple of weeks worth of baseball for guys that have tweaked their swings. MJ, Michael, what we're seeing from a couple of the other guys. We'll talk about that with Les Norman, get his thoughts on what the offense is doing. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. .com and First Federal Bank of Kansas City.
Such a great voice there, right, Sterling?
Dude, it's incredible.
It's pretty good.
Jeff Tate.
Pretty good. Jeff Tate, is that his name?
Yeah.
Very good.
I was
Is he
trying to
related
figure out-
Corey?
Corey Tate? No, I don't
Okay.
think
All
so.
right, just checking. I don't know. You never know. Les MJ Melendez. He had the double last night, went 1 for 3. Should have gone 1 for 2 with 2 walks because that 3-2 pitch was absolutely a ball. And a good eye to not swing at that pitch. And it's
When you're going bad, though, that's the kind of stuff that happens.
It's funny because he was like, I didn't swing. Did you call me for a check? So he's like, no, it was like, what? He was already walking to first. It was such a ball. Anyway, he had the double off the base of the wall in right field, but has obviously been struggling with strikeouts and, making contact. How long do you? I know last night he got the double, so maybe you put him back in the lineup tonight just to see what if he can build off of that. But is there a certain point to where you're done waiting and you just say Omaha's the spot for you to figure out this swing? That the first part of spring training you felt good, and then the last part of spring training and the first part of the season it's been no bueno. So at what point do the Royals pull the ripcord and say, it's a trip to Omaha for you?
The thing in MJ Melendez's favor is they don't have many other options. I mean, they just don't. And so every year to really get a gauge on a hitter, you got to give him 100 at-bats in general. But he has had cycles and cycles. And again, we talked about it, I think, a couple weeks ago where MJ Melendez even said that he realizes the Royals have given him way more opportunities than anybody else would have given him. He knows he's living on borrowed time, which does add pressure. I think with him, you don't necessarily have to give him 100 at-bats. Maybe you give him 60 to 75 to see. If he's – and there were times last year where he hit the ball hard when he was struggling and struggled. But, again, that was when he was hitting like 190 late in the season where it's really hard with that many at-bats to get above it. So I see tweaks in the swing like they've talked about, but the improvements to me are only minor. He still moves his back foot too much. He still moves his head too much. He's still top hand heavy. He still falls toward the dugout. He still doesn't handle off-speed or outside pitches very well. So you can see in his eyes that he's lacking confidence, which contributes to the strikeouts. I mean, you can see so many different things. Now, the mental side, you can't coach out mental struggles. You can't coach out lack of confidence. The only thing that brings those is you letting go and then just trusting the process. So if they were willing to give him all these chances and willing to change his swing, they're probably going to give him 100 at-bats. I wouldn't, but that's why Q is a good manager and he manages and I don't. So I think, though, if you give him 100 at-bats and you still see the same kind of struggle, the question for me isn't, is the experiment over? The question for me is, is there another team out there? Can you even trade a guy like that? Or do you send him to AAA? Or do you just flat out release him? They're not going to release him. They'll send him to AAA. Drew Waters is having a decent start to the season. Maybe they replace him with a guy like Drew Waters or something like that. So I wouldn't give him the full 100. I'd give him 75. They'll probably give him at least the full 100. But again, they've got to get off the love affair with the guy that is MJ Melendez because he works hard. He's a nice guy, and start paying attention just to the results. I think JJ is there where he knows that, okay, we've waited long enough. We probably went longer than we should, but the mistake is the mistake. Now this is the timetable. When it's over, it's over.
23 at-bats so far for MJ Melendez. So probably looking at 3 times that, as you mentioned, and however many games it'll take for him to get those at-bats because he's not playing every day.
Which is hard to come out of something when you're not playing every day.
Yeah. I will say that, for the frustrations that are there with Hunter Renfroe, which is a conversation in and of itself of offering pretty much nothing, bringing nothing to the table for Hunter Renfroe, loses a ball in the lights last night, drops a ball the other day, misplays on opening day, doesn't have an arm, has a couple of hits, one a ground ball with eyes and another one that was lost in the sun. He's not, and he doesn't run the bases well. and he doesn't really have a whole lot of range in right field. Other than that, he's like a regular Albert Pujols. You know what I mean? But I will say, like last night, I was talking to Sterling
He's
about
a great
this.
passer.
Yeah, he's a really good passer.
Really
It's like
good passer.
Walter Clayton to Rick Pitino. He's fat, slow, can't shoot, but he can pass really well. Okay, well, now he's the most outstanding player of the Final Four. But I was talking to Sterling off the air earlier, and I'm like, I know that there's frustration, and he's not Alex Gordon, but the route MJ took to the ball that was scorched to left center was a direct route and no wasted steps, and the ball was hit. And you know this, Les, how difficult it is to judge a ball immediately off the bat. Like
Especially
the ball
when
is
it's hit hard and kind of at you.
Line drive, and he just turns his hips and goes, and exactly where he goes and catches the ball. Like, it was a decent run to get there, and he took a direct route. I'm like, that's somebody who's put in the work to learn the outfield, because we've seen India take a few routes. We've seen Michael Garcia in center field take a few routes that are like, still learning out there. At least MJ is offering that to the table, that if the ball is hit to left field, I feel confident that MJ is going to catch the ball. He's not going to be Alex Gordon and cover ground out there that's just ridiculous for how much ground he can cover. But if MJ can get there, I feel like he's going to catch the ball, and I feel like he'll get there more times than not. Where anytime it's hit to right field, I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen.
You can't argue with heart, discipline, work ethic, and MJ Melendez has those. And that's why I know that sarcasm or funny or whatever, he's not my favorite player as far as the offense, because the bottom line is that you DH for pitchers, you don't DH for other players.
Yeah.
So you have to hit. This game's about hitting. So I admire that in him, and it's sad for me. I pull for underdogs because my very, very short big league career was an underdog. Some of it was imposed by managers, and others it was just the era that I was brought up in, the generation. And so it is what it is. So I pull for him in that, because you know the guy's working hard. You can see it in his eyes when he's up at the plate, like, man, I got to get a hit here. You feel for him. But this is big boy baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, you're making the minimum salary is over $700,000 a year. You got to produce.
Not bad.
So, I feel for him. I hate that. Renfroe, I'm frustrated with, because he's not even giving you big league at-bats really anymore, and he's definitely not giving you big league defense. And I feel like with him, if the Royals are out of it by, late July, early August, they probably just need to pay him and cut bait.
Yeah.
Yeah. Melendez is the guy that he needs to produce. Renfroe is just he's at that point where he's probably at the bottom side of his career, and unfortunately that's with us.
Yeah, and you look at the underlying metrics even before he got here, it's been a downturn, and I was actually someone who liked the move. I know I was kind of an outlier. I go, okay, but you can put him in the 6 or 7 hole. He's going to get you 20 home runs. He's fine defensively. Fine. He's not as fast.
He's got a nice arm.
A good arm.
Yeah.
I go, you can live with Hunter Renfroe as your 6 or 7 hitter.
Yeah.
You can't right now. And I was talking to Jason. We brought this up yesterday. I said you have to do 2 out of 3. You have to be either good defensively, good on the base paths, or a good hitter. I think there's always going to be outliers, right? Like Miguel Cabrera was just so good at one that didn't matter what he did with the other 2, right? Right. But for the most part, I think you got to have 2 out of 3. Renfroe is 0 for 3.
Yeah.
And so at some point, I like the move. I feel for the guy. That sucks, but I think it's over. And you keep putting him out there. It's not getting any better. I'm not saying the Royals have a ton of great options in AAA. I know that I'm probably the wrong guy, since I was a huge Drew Waters supporter. My thoughts on Drew, I've always been...
That's why you nodded when I mentioned his name.
And he's raking yet again. But he seems almost like a quad A guy. But that quad A guy at least gives you base running and defense. That's at least more of the pie than what Hunter Renfroe is doing. Drew Waters can bat 172. Drew Waters can get a sun-aided double for his only extra base hit, if that's what it comes down to. But he's at least going to play good defense, and he can give you a little bit of benefit on the base pass.
He's got 3 stolen bases this year down in Omaha. It's 3 more than Hunter Renfroe will have all year.
And so that's more or less my point is, I understand you have this investment in Hunter, but I don't think anyone here is seeing any signs of a turnaround. It ended bad. I know the injuries last year, and he did have a little bit of a resurgence at one point when he got healthy. So if that's what they're hoping and holding on for, I understand to an extent. But I think the leash needs to be really short, because again, you're getting 0 out of 3 of the bucket when at least Drew Waters or a Gavin Cross or someone can give you 1 out of 3 or 2 out of 3.
Well, Drew Waters, Weimer, and Gentry are the only outfielders that are on the 40
And Weimer
man.
gives you at least 1 out of 3 with defense.
Right. So
Right.
you've got those 3 guys. Gentry's not hitting well. Weimer's not hitting well. Waters is stealing bases and raking and playing defense. So those are the 3 guys on the 40 man that if they were to make a move,
Yes.
those would be the most obvious ones to come up. But if Gavin Cross, moves up from the 27 Yankees that is Northwest Arkansas Naturals right now that are scoring like 12 runs per game because you got Gavin Cross and Carter Jensen and Jack Caglione. it's like
It's a pretty good lineup.
That's pretty good. Maybe one day here at Kauffman Stadium. But with Dozier in 2023, he played 29 games. And in May of that year, they said, no more. We're going to DFA him. We're moving on. They owed him still $10.25 million after 23, plus the prorated. They paid him about $15 million to move on from him at that point because of the contract, sunk cost, done deal. You got to pay him anyway. Renfroe, you owe about $6 million. So if you moved on from Dozier, who you drafted, developed, paid a contract.
Tried to develop.
Yes, tried to develop, right. Paid a contract to and said, 29 games into this year, we still owe him 15, and we're just going to move on and pay him the 15.
Yeah.
Then are you really going to, be, pinching pennies for Renfroe at, owing him $6 million the rest of this year, not owing him a dime at the end of this year?
Yeah, Jason, it's a great point because I feel like too often, and this might be a weird statement, I'll try to qualify it, but I think too often we invest in a player instead of investing in the position. So what do you need out of a right fielder? You need a guy that can play decent defense. He doesn't have to be super fast, but he has to be able to play angles, catch the ball, and have a cannon for an arm that's both strong and accurate. You need 25, 30 home runs out of that guy. You need 80-plus RBIs. So I know it's sometimes hard to figure who's going to be that guy, but like you said, Sterling, he was on the downturn. But we threw all those millions of dollars at him, and it makes us skeptical about all these free agents that we end up paying that keeps failing in right field. When was the last right fielder?
It was Jeff Rancour, and he even had, I think, a little bit of a disappointment for what you thought it was going to be. But I think Jeff Rancour, you can say Alex Rios or Norioki, but for a 1-year deal. I would say that was 2013.
Yeah.
Who was the last consistent right fielder? Is it Jermaine Dye?
I purposely didn't qualify that part of it, just saying right fielder, and I think, Sterling, you knew what I was getting at.
Yeah.
When was the last guy that we could say made a really positive impact?
I'd say Jeff
and
Rancour
remotely lived up to it. But that's been 12 years.
Yeah.
How many players has it been, since that? I'm not like literally asking the question, but
right, rhetorical.
Enough for a generation to start forgetting, or being skeptical about the position. So, Jason, I think you bring up a good point. I mean, if you did that with Hunter Dozier, it's almost like, I don't know if it's the Royals or what the situation is. Like, we're afraid early in the season to cut bait with a guy because then maybe it's a sign that we're just going to give up. And now is the time to do it, to come up with answers way before the All-Star break when the season starts, because if you bring a guy up and call a guy up or you sign somebody else in an early season trade or something like that and he doesn't produce right away, okay, you still got plenty of time to catch up on those wins and let the guy develop and let the guy, whoever that is, get his feet wet and learn it. But the longer you hold on to a lost cause like this, it really frustrates you because, again, it's like the old saying that I learned in the clubhouse: you sit all game, you go out there in a tough situation, the ball will always find you. And a guy that you run too long with will be the guy that needs to make a play, needs to get a big hit, and when the bases are loaded and there's 2 outs and you need a hot guy to come up to the plate, and it ends up being a guy like Renfroe who weakly grounds out to the second baseman, then you pay for it. Those are the consequences of hanging on too long, and they always come back to bite you.
Damn it, the consequences of my own actions.
Doggone it.
Hate those. As we go to break, and I want to talk about Michael and a little Salvi as well, but a little trivia for you guys. If we're talking about right field, do you know which player has started the most opening days in right field? The record is 5. So for 5 opening days in right field for the Royals.
Is it Jeff Rancour?
No, he started 3. It was 3 years.
He's
tied for second. Rancour, by the way, is tied for second with the most.
Wasn't Dye, was it?
I don't think Dye played.
Dye was 3.
Yeah,
Actually,
Dye.
he's tied for 3rd because Cowens had 4, so it's not AC. So Dye had 3, Francoeur had 3,
Gotta
so they
be
were
older.
tied for 3.
Yeah, so we're talking 70s.
Yeah, 70s, 80s.
Nope.
We're not.
Late 80s, early 90s.
I know for a fact it was not me.
Nope, it was not Les Norman.
For a fact, the math doesn't add up. You'd have to play 5 years.
You'll kick yourself when I tell you. A fellow by the name of Danny Tartable. 5 years in right
He's
field.
kind
for
of the
Royals.
older. You said
Yeah,
no, but he's kind of
But
the
I was
older-ish.
meaning late 80s, early 90s, not the 70s,
Jason,
80s
I think
Royals
you
team.
threw me for a loop on that.
No,
one.
you were honest. I got
Because
what
he
you,
said
yeah.
like 70s, 80s, and I
Yeah,
was
you
like,
said
no,
80s,
80s,
90s.
early 90s. Tartable from 87 to 91. And then McReynolds, Felix Jose, Henderson Jose, Michael Tucker, Jermaine Dye, Sutton, Dye, Tucker, Berger, Gonzalez, Stairs,
Juan
Sanders,
Gonzalez.
Tien, Guillen, De Jesus,
Tien de
Francoeur,
Guillen.
Aoki, Rios, Fuentes, Paulo Orlando, Soler, Witt, Isbell, Witt, MJ, Renfro. There's your right field since Tartable. So
There sure are some names in there.
there are some names. Out of all the names, those are names. There in right field. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and deal with Les Norman next. their staying power to a degree. He doesn't have to bat 340, but to what we're seeing from Michael Garcia with this swing as opposed with Zumwalt saying, they stopped him from crashing and, keeping his weight back and letting the ball travel a little bit, not trying to hit home runs and power up, but just get back to the level swing. Are you seeing that with Michael Garcia, that what we're seeing has an optimism that this is closer to what we'll see rather than the guy that was a black hole last year?
Yeah, the thing that needed to change with Michael Garcia is a very difficult thing to learn as a big league hitter because he still strides far, but he was crashing where he would pick up his front leg and then collapse his back leg, so your weight has to land forward heavy. It has to crash. Whereas now he keeps his back leg, even when he lifts his leg and strides out, I can stride out or I can push out. When you stride out, you're able to land and then pick up the ball and then keep your head still, rotate on that backside a little bit more, and let your hands do the work. Whereas when you crash, your front foot lands, then as your hands try to attack the ball, your head's still moving forward. And the tricky part is that you have to have exceptional timing to be able to do what he's doing. And he figured it out. That's the type of elite athlete that Michael Garcia is. He may not look like, he's not 6'4", 240 of studliness, but he's a pure hitter because to be able to make that adjustment is incredible talent, and you just have to be able to put it together. He's done that. So it's very difficult, but he only had really one thing to work on, so all the other things could be good.
Well, the second inning is something that really got me even more. I was already excited and being a believer, but the second inning, so we talk about crashing and Zumwalt stopping him from doing that. The single he got in the second inning after MJ's double was a line drive to right field on an 86-mile-an-hour slider, low and outside.
But the only way...
If he's crashing, is he taking that to right field?
No, if he's crashing, the only way to make that adjustment is to throw the bat at it. Because if you crash forward and then you start your rotation, you're pulling off the ball.
And now he's grounding out to shortstop. MJ staying at second.
Well, if he even catches that pitch.
But if he catches it, he's grounding out to shortstop because he's rolling over and he's out in front of 86. And it's a ground ball to shortstop. MJ, it's to his right, so he stays at second. You've got one out and a man at second. Instead of first and third, nobody out, and Kyle Isbell single then scores MJ and sends Michael to third. The Bobby Witt fielder's choice scores Michael.
You can land softly without crashing and still drift a little bit forward, but your front shoulder stays on the ball, and you're able to keep your hands back and go the other way. If you crash and pull off, your hands come forward, and you have no chance, like you said, the ground ball, or you have to flail at it, or you're just going to swing and miss, or something like that. And so that's the sign, like that exact at-bat you're talking about shows that he's able, even when you get fooled or beat, you still can keep your hands back and then do some damage.
86 mile an hour, he went the other way. He took it into right field, line drive on 86, low and away.
Yeah. I also love the at-bat, the line out to 405 feet to center field. That was just torched.
Yeah. But, I think we're going to see that from Michael. That at-bat in the second inning was, this is a guy who's clearly keeping his weight back and letting the ball travel, so he's seeing more of it and seeing this is going to be outside. I'm going to take it to right field.
And every good at-bat, he's gaining more and more confidence and more experience by what he's seeing, what he's feeling, and how he's adjusting. So most likely, it's only going to get better.
Well, and again, the underlying metrics, I know people are going to probably get tired of me saying that, but have traditionally been really good for Michael Garcia. There's always been just a small fix. That was a small fix for him, and he does, again, the other two buckets very well. Very good base runner. Phenomenal fielder. If he can even hit around a 700 OPS, that is a very useful player.
I just that at bat, I'm like, I don't know the last time I saw Michael Garcia on anything that was below 90 go the other way with it.
Yeah.
Usually you're going to be out in front of that thing.
Yeah.
But it was nice. Les, appreciate your brother as always.
Great to be here as always, guys.
Todd Lebo coming up next. And another coach, first-time coach, national championship, or coach with being a first-time national champion last night. And so we'll certainly talk about that. Some other things with NIL. Todd Lebo is hanging out with us. Todd, let's talk about your Nuggets.
Oh, the Nugs. What, out of nowhere?
Yeah.
What is this?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess it's not out of nowhere, but in my Nuggets crew,
Yeah.
who I'm texting with right now,
Right.
Rudy and Shane.
That's right.
Out of
The three of
nowhere
you.
for them, too.
What do you guys call the
Michael
three,
Malone.
the three nugs? Or?
Yeah, Michael Malone has been fired by the Denver Nuggets. So if you're coach of the year or win an NBA championship, you're going to get fired.
I mean, you're
in the
just
NBA.
done, man.
And the GM, Calvin Booth.
Yeah.
Canned.
15
Fourth in the West right
15
now.
games over 500. Out.
Wow. Season's winding
That'd
down.
be like the Chiefs canning Veach and Andy if they went, what would the equivalent be, 12-5?
I mean,
11 and
they were
6?
sitting at 10 and
4?
10 and 5, and they 2 weeks to go, and they just fired.
It's like, hey, we're moving on.
I don't know.
We're moving on.
Hey,
The
That'd
Nuggets
be
have only
wild.
won one
This team
championship.
is
Sure.
This team is 9-6. It's not good enough.
The
We got to move
Eagles,
on.
maybe. If the Eagles can Sirianni.
I guess
and,
Sirianni could have
Except
been.
Sirianni's
Yeah.
That's
Cannibal.
different.
Right. Because
Malone
you
actually
know-
is
kind of a jerk.
node.
So-
Good coach.
Honestly, is it Doug Peterson-esque? Like he won a championship in
Little bit.
Philly,
Yeah.
and then they
Maybe.
fired him a couple of years later. It's like, not good enough. Well, what's going on? And
Well,
we
they
need to
missed the
find somebody
playoffs.
else.
It's not like they were missing the playoffs.
I
They're
know.
the
They're
fourth
right there.
seed.
I know.
It's wild. This is a weird one, but there's been a couple, like, the Grizzlies guy was fired.
Yeah.
And they're okay. I mean, they're in the playoffs.
NBA head coaches have to be I don't want to say hardest job, but the least
So much turnover.
the least consistency of any
Yeah.
gig. Like when
Well,
Popovich stays there long enough.
Him and Spoelstra are like the two,
And then Kerr,
and Kerr's been there for a
long
while,
time.
but he wasn't there the whole time.
Right, yeah.
We were looking this up when Peter Vermees mutually parted ways last week, and MLS is crazier even. So there were two people who are heads of MLS teams who had been hired pre-pandemic. So there was like 2019 or later. There's only two
Only two of them.
of the whole league. It was crazy, and Peter was one of them. So he's
Right.
gone. So,
So there's
you
one.
look at the list of them, and you go to like Wikipedia. You can like date hired. You can just hit the search button on there, and it's like almost all of them within the last 2 years, and most of them aren't hired. Like their hire date's not December, like when it should be for like they're almost all midseason. Just we're done. We're firing.
Yeah.
It's a weird season in that one because it's so long.
Soccer across the
it's
globe just fires
fire
managers.
you, no
this
matter
guy's been
what.
sacked 3 games into the season. Like, why? Why'd you
done.
wait 3 games for? Why'd you just do it in the off season?
Totally done. We're done with you. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's wild. I mean, maybe it's like that in hockey too. I don't know. I don't pay that much attention. I probably couldn't name a hockey coach right now, an NHL head coach. I don't know if I could name
What's
one right
Gretzky up to? He could be a coach.
now. No, he's not.
No,
I
no,
saw
I don't
him
think he's a coach.
watching from the stands
Yeah.
when Ovechkin
Yeah,
broke the record.
that was pretty
broke
cool.
his record.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess you wait. No,
Honestly, we did this last week. I was one of my Stump the Chumps questions with Petra. I was just naming Orioles manager since 1965, and I wasn't sure they were going to get the guy who's there now.
Buck
And he's been there for
Showalter.
like 5 years, but he was named.
Oh, my
I
God.
just you don't know who it is. See?
Oh, my God,
I just
yeah.
broke your brain.
wait.
Yeah.
Buck Showalter.
No, he's not there.
He's not there.
God, he's had like 3 jobs since then.
Yeah, that was in 2014 when it was the
He
what was it
managed
the
the
Dunce
Mets.
and the what did they call that matchup in 2014 Royals and Orioles? Was it the Dunce and the
These O's ain't royal.
no? But
Yeah,
they
we were calling him. I can't.
they
he was a
named it
genius or
something. It was the Genius and the Dunce
Yeah.
or something like
The
that.
chess master.
Yeah,
It's something of that
something like
nature.
yeah, it was like
I'll
that.
find
It's like
well, the Dunce won.
yes, Ned was
Settle
this
down.
big dummy and Buck Showalter was this X's and O's guru. And was gonna-
Nerds versus vibes.
Yeah,
I
the-
can't quite
Vibes
remember who
won.
their guy is right now, and I just did this question
Found
last
it.
week.
Hang on.
what was it called? Oh, the current manager or what was it?
It was the Dunce versus the chess master of Wall Street Journal.
yeah. So we combined there with the chess.
October 5th, 2014. Yep.
So Chessmaster versus the Dunce and the
Brandon
Ryan
something is their guy.
Costa.
and the Dunce swept him.
Yeah.
Yeah, take that.
Oh wait, I should have known his name for the Orioles.
It's Brandon something? Or?
Brandon Hyde.
Hyde. That's his name.
Yeah.
But he's been there like
Sure.
5 years. Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you know who the manager was last night in the 9th inning for the Twins?
No.
Because it wasn't Rocco.
It wasn't Rocco. That was one of the weirdest things. I was out there covering the game, and so
I still don't know what happened.
I'm full disclosure. I've got my iPad, and I got one AirPod in, listening to the basketball
As
game,
you
and
should.
I'm
As
I'm
one
watching
does.
the
Yeah.
the baseball, and it's just kind of happening, And then I was like, wait a second, did he balk? But you can't balk someone to first base. And then I was like, they have that weird rule about mound disengagements or something, but you have to be on base for that. And then so it was pitch clock for the ball 4. But
there were still 2 seconds on the pitch clock.
At least. So here's the way it works. I'm not complaining, but I am. In the press box at Royal Stadium, the video feed you're watching the FanDuel Sports Network on is 28 seconds behind live when you're sitting there. I timed it. It's 28 seconds. So that is 2 pitches at least, or maybe exactly 2 pitches if it's 15 seconds, right? So I had plenty of time to go, wait a second. And then I looked up and I watched the pitch, and then I waited 13 seconds for another pitch. And I go, it was 2 seconds on there. What did he do? And then I think the guy felt bad because he's like, God, I really blew that. But you can't walk him and say sorry, and it's not reviewable, I guess. And so Baldelli comes out there, and he was just like, what are you doing? This is not right, whatever, da, 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 da. And it was like the lamest toss ever.
He did one little finger point.
Like that. I got to throw
there.
you out.
He felt bad.
He felt bad.
Because at first he gave him like the, come on, I get it. Like the hand up, like the, okay.
And Rock was like, I'm out of here. I'm not watching this. It's cold.
No.
And
Go back to the clubhouse.
And then he tries to kick dirt on the plate. He kind of messed it up. It wasn't very good either. The whole thing was just like,
it was a half-hearted on all accounts.
Bush League ruling, Bush League ejection, Bush League.
Well, then didn't the assistant coach come out afterwards?
Yes, and he yelled too. I mean, I think they all were done.
Yeah, my son was like, what did he kick? So I think he tried to kick dirt on the plate.
He swung and missed. It was so weird.
Well, the only thing I could think of was because I get the disengaged thing. I understand. They never really explained it, and I also had the game audio on because I was watching on my phone, so I'm like watching them get tossed.
Well, he was trying to say it was it was a pitch comp thing. That's the excuse.
Yes, but you can't keep doing that.
Yes.
And then
the problem is
by the time he got back on the mound, then is it almost like a quick pitch for India, who's. So
it was so weird. And then I asked Q after, and he's like, I don't really exactly know what happened because he wasn't out there in it.
Right.
He was just like 40 feet away or whatever. And he's like, I don't
we got walked.
know. And
so no explanation.
Jonathan India didn't know. He's like, he couldn't really tell. He's like, I just took my base. He didn't know.
So great.
There was another one. I don't think you saw that. I don't know if they showed this on TV.
They showed it with Urseg.
It's his glove?
Yeah, it's the gray or white lining on the glove.
He's had the same glove
illegal.
the whole time.
Yeah.
And then this crew just goes, I don't know about these laces.
Well, you could see him mouthing and going, hasn't been a problem. Not one time was it a problem.
And then it looked like it got in his dome because that was his worst outing of the season.
And he said, and to Sterling's point, he said something or looked at the umpire after the inning was over because I think he did get thrown off by all that stuff before the inning.
Yeah, and the 13th pitch of the at-bat strikes out Carlos Correa.
It was a hell of an at-bat. It was something, man.
I mean, that many fastballs that you're throwing somebody that's fouling you off, he knows what you have.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's able to time you up. And for him to be able to...
got him up a little bit.
Yeah, to come inside and have Correa foul it off and then go high and away. And as Ryan said, right as the pitch was coming in, Correa's hips opened up, and he's like, he lost his hips, and he was toast at that point. So it was a great pitch. But, yeah, the Royals get the win, and so you were split attention there while you were covering the Royals game and watching
the little bit weird
Gators and Cougars game. I had the Royals on my iPad, and then the game
it got really weird
TV.
when the Royals game ended.
Oh, yeah.
So they were up. Houston was up 10 or something, and then so we go to the elevator. We go downstairs, and they're 12, and I'm in the interview room, and Annie is down there, and Blair has covered the Royals last night, and we're just sitting there talking about the game, the basketball game a little bit, 12-point game, and I turned my phone to do not disturb.
Yeah.
And I put it up there to record. And then
such a professional.
Well, yeah. And my dad had called me with a question about the basketball game. And I had to put it on do not disturb. I did not need my phone ringing up there. So we get done with Q, and then he's like, hey, Todd, what's the score of the game? And I go, well, let me check real quick. It was 12 points when you sat down. Oh, it's only
Q
4.
asked,
It's only 4 now. Something happened while you're up here. And then we it's on in the clubhouse, but there's also baseball in the clubhouse. So everyone we're kind of interviewing, just looking over. That's 3 now. Back to 1, whatever. And then I was finally
Jonathan India, paying a little bit closer attention than maybe
see what's going on.
John Name with a walk. That's a walk.
That's a walk. Come on.
And so it was a weird thing to have that going on while we got in there. And then I got in the car and I was listening to Kevin Kugler. Did a great job as always. And I got home right when Florida had missed one of the free throws or made the second and the timeout, so I had time to go inside, turn the TV on.
So you saw the worst
watch
part of the game.
worst 19-second of basketball.
Nice. You saw
Just
a
an
couple
awful
turnovers.
possession.
But it's
I just saw the last possession.
Just the last one. Just the
I
last
listened
turnover.
to all the turnovers.
But it's funny you talk about like how far behind it is, like from the people that are actually at the event. So I'm posting on Twitter, and because like with 8 minutes to go, and I'm like, man, I don't want this game to end. Let's just add another 10 minutes when it's over. And so then it's 65-63. They're in the timeout, and I post, let's start with 5 minutes here. And right as I hit send, just like 6 tweets come in, and Florida's your national champion. I can't believe they didn't get a shot off. And I'm looking up, and they're still in the huddle.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell? And it happened fast. It was only 20 seconds once they inbounded the ball. But I'm like, so I was probably 40 seconds behind
You're
the
on
people that
YouTube
were
TV
actually there.
Or on,
yeah.
What are you on?
I was on YouTube TV.
Yeah, and it's like
but it was
30
only
seconds.
40. But it was only like 40 seconds from the people who were in attendance to when it came across my screen. But that 40 seconds was enough for me to tweet and see it pop. I'm like, well, how did they not get a shot off here? And I'm like watching the thing take place.
Yeah.
I'm like, they got 20 seconds.
Twitter's ruined a lot of that, especially
Yeah.
ruins draft night.
Yeah.
And, those kind of things.
But I didn't think I would know the ending when they're still in the huddle.
In the huddle, that's a bad one.
Because I didn't think the 20 set, like there was no missed shot, a foul going down the other end, shooting free
Whole
throws.
thing just went.
None of that.
This
It
was
was
my
all gone.
concern, dude, when I got YouTube TV. I was
Yeah,
a
I
cable
know.
guy for a long time. Because
But I don't
cable's
think
like
that's-
8 seconds.
but I don't think that's
cable's
you-
like 8
Cable's
seconds.
not much. It's close.
Cables is. I love it,
Yeah,
Dylan.
but,
Thank you.
But from the site, from people tweeting
Yeah.
from the site,
Actually getting a tweet
courtside
out that quick.
to them.
You must
Myron.
had some good Wi-Fi
Yeah.
down there.
Myron, every time I see Myron's tweet,
Yeah.
I like to close Twitter because it's like I'm on YouTube TV as well, so
Yeah.
I know I'm 40 seconds
Well, the
behind.
weird thing about the K is Drake goes out on Sundays, and Sunday the game was on Channel 5.
Yeah.
And it was like only 3 seconds behind.
about
So
that?
Yeah, it's great.
I don't know how they distribute it to us, but I know this: when you're down in the rest of the stadium, the TVs aren't that slow. I don't know what the deal is, but it's impossible because it's just ridiculous to
do they
have
do it
it
on
be that
purpose,
far.
do you
No,
think,
no.
up there?
It's just how it gets distributed.
Because the little TVs on the lower row are actually faster than some of the big TVs of the game. Like I'll actually see on the smaller TV that it's faster by maybe like a pitch.
Well, I was wondering if the media was behind on purpose, so that way you could see it and then see what happened above.
but I don't
but
think
And make it 5 seconds.
I
Yeah,
was
I
gonna
was
say,
gonna say
it
it's
would
too
be
long.
2
that.
pitches behind. Yeah.
The same
too
thing at
long
Arrowhead.
behind.
Sorry, I'm a
Arrowhead's the
dumbass.
same
That's on
deal.
me.
At Arrowhead, it's exactly a play. So they'll have on not the scoreboard, they'll have on NBC or CBS, whatever. And so you watch the play, and you're like, oh, what happened on
And you
that?
immediately
and then you
look
look
up
there
and
then
watch the play.
And then you look, and you have to wait and say, oh, they're just about to snap it. Oh, you have to
Yeah.
make this choice. I want to see the replay of the snap. It's so
I do that. I do
frustrating.
that with Chiefs games on my iPad. I have the Chiefs games about 14 seconds behind on the iPad versus the game. So when it's live, I can see it.
So you get
and
your
then-
own replay
and I can
built
look
in.
over because I can time it up perfectly. Okay,
Yeah.
this is how long I want between the plays to see the replay of it, to watch it, and see what happened again.
The best replays at Arrowhead, they replay them quick on the Jumbotron. They're
Yeah.
quick. Their staff in-house gets those replays
Oh, I got
going real
news.
fast.
Not really breaking, but
Let 'em on.
I found this. I got a text. FYI, there's a setting on YouTube TV that can reduce the delay.
You can. It reduces it some, but it won't get it all out.
Yeah.
You go down to the 3 dots.
Yes.
You go to the 3 dots. There's a something called broadcast.
Why would you
delay.
want more delay?
Well, what it does is if
I
it
want
has
to hear
some
the
delay,
F, the
you won't-
F-bombs.
You won't buffer.
I was
It's
gonna
not.
say,
It's not a
yeah.
delay for that. It's a delay to keep your device from buffering, so it just
Ah.
lags it a little bit.
Yeah,
It's like
it
the
may
same
not be
as-
HD
Yeah.
as high quality to make sure it's getting there
And
no
you can
matter
also
what. Yeah.
just change from when it does auto,
Yeah.
that causes a lot of the buffering. If you just set it at like a lower resolution and say, here, 480p, don't change from this, it won't look as great. But if you're just listening
These
and
are-
doing things around the house, that's what it's kind
These
of for.
words, Dylan, they're so difficult.
By the
I
way,
don't-
Dylan, with the
Technology.
sound bites, I don't think I loaded in the Hunter Dickinson one. Now that I'm thinking about it, as I'm looking at the format, because I'm like, oh, we're gonna play that with Todd coming up, and I'm looking at the format and I don't see it. I'm thinking back, like I think I don't think I ever pressed save on that one.
So it's a
downstairs.
fiction?
Yeah, it's a fiction there. But I'll paraphrase. Hunter Dickinson said that he gave up $100,000 to return to KU.
6 figures.
6 figures, sorry.
That
6
could be
figures.
more. That could be
$900,000.
$999,000.
Yeah, that's a good point. He gave up 6 figures to return to KU, and then people talked about they were like top, whatever, spending $5 million in NIL, and he's like, we're looking around and saying, well, who got what?
On the bus.
on the bus, like, where's the $5 million at? And so then it's like Jeff Goodman's like, well, yeah, not even top 25. Where's the list? Like, how do we know what every single player's getting?
We don't know
this is all
anything.
just a guess.
It's all guesses.
Like anybody that's like, well, yeah, Kansas is top 5. Kansas
it's
isn't
like
even top
guessing,
25. Like
manager and NFL head coach salaries because we don't really know.
Yeah, but it's like but who's top 5 then? If they're not top 5, I want to know the schools. Like, okay, BYU, since they're paying, the number 1 recruit in the country, maybe $5 or $6 million to go there. But okay, well then Darren Peterson's probably getting a decent amount of money. If the number 1 player is getting 5 or 6, he's the number 2. So maybe KU is spending a lot of money. And did Hunter Dickinson say, I returned to KU, or I gave up $100,000 or 6 figures to return, to come back and try to win? Was that he was offered more at a different school? And a different school was like, we'll offer you.
It he was going to go to the NBA, and they said, well, listen, you can come back, but you're only going to make $700,000.
Or was it a Gil Mesh situation
Well,
where he
no.
goes, you know what, I'm going to give
It
$100K
was not
back
that.
to the university.
I'll take the on that.
There's another tweet out there that was he gave up the 6 figures for AJ Storr, to bring in AJ Storr. I don't know.
Sweeten the pot for him. Who knows?
I don't know how true that is. But
I would be very mad if I were Hunter Dickinson and you give him $100K for that.
But my takeaway from that is like, how do we know who's the number 1, number 2, number 5, number 50 in the recruit in the NIL and how much money they're spending?
On3 does a nice thing where they have the NIL value of a player, but that doesn't mean they're getting that.
Right.
I think a lot of people look at that and think the person's getting this. They're using some metrics to say what they're worth. But that doesn't mean they're getting it.
PFF has the projected contracts for every single free agent before the free agency
doesn't mean they're going
hits.
to get it.
Doesn't mean they're getting that.
No, it's just what they're worth. You don't know, really. I mean, we think we found out about Coleman Hawkins because his agents put it out there.
That's what it seems to be.
And generally speaking,
consensus.
the agents want people to know because they want more people to come to him and say, hey, you got that for him.
I got Coleman.
You got to get this for me. We've talked about this. I don't think for these kids at this age, it's the greatest thing in the world for it to be out there for them. You know what I mean? So I hope that maybe we don't put those out there, but we may end up eventually getting these things put out there. I don't think the schools want to do it. We'll see what happens when they get this $20.5 million.
Then it'll be different because then if you're a public university,
then you might have to.
Then you'll be like, okay, we're getting 20.5. Where's it going? Okay, 77% is going to football. Then this is going to that guy.
But it won't be accurate then either because what's Bill Self's contract? For $220,000 or something,
right, that's
and
true.
the rest is whatever.
And then there's also the legit NIL that the NCAA is saying we're going to crack down and make sure NIL is actually NIL since we have revenue sharing there. So
this will be a step.
Yeah, it'll be a step. It'll be a step in being a little more transparent and knowing what at least the basketball program has to spend in revenue sharing because we can do the math. This program's getting 16%. Well, there's $20.5 million, 16% for that particular program. There you go. And that's what they're getting. Are they spending it all on one player? Are they dividing it up? Is it more, depth? Or
like baseball scholarships. You getting a full, you getting an 8.
Stars and Jags? And Jags? Are you going more depth pieces?
I think I should have gotten a lot of NIL for my fraternity basketball.
You probably should have. You guys were very good.
At the rec, I feel like I should. Because Did
you guys get kicked off campus?
No. Well, after I left.
But the fraternity was kicked off.
We got a new first time since 1905. Okay, we had a good run. We're back now. New house.
Maybe you should give some of that money back.
No, because
maybe 6 figures.
Is your house gone?
Yeah,
it's gone.
No, our house is back.
I'm talking to Jason.
We're back now, baby. And that would have bought a lot of dollar shots at Harpo's.
Good for you.
Maybe if you guys would have won some money up there, you could have gotten a real toilet up on that 3rd floor.
Well, I'm just saying, like
instead of the funnel,
we swept the fall intramurals.
Let's go,
Lebo. You took a
champions
little
in
nap
every
at
single fall sport.
His fraternity.
No, I didn't sleep there. I slept at another fraternity house. It was a much nicer house.
It was
Lebo,
really
how
nice
old were
house.
you?
Yeah,
33.
Yeah.
Older than me, sleeping at a random fraternity house, Lebo.
It wasn't random. It was an intern's fraternity.
I was up
there. He was working.
Doing a remote.
It's called a hotel.
I got left.
Todd.
There's only one hotel in Maryville. It was sold out.
Exactly.
It was gone. They had no rooms.
Not a lot of omnis that constructed there. Let's hear from Hunter Dickinson, and then we'll go to break. Here's
bar hopping Lebo.
Here's what Hunter Dickinson actually said. Now that we have the bleep in there.
I mean, I gave up money. I gave up 6 figures to come back to help our team get better because obviously, everybody thinks Kansas has all this money.
Yeah, they didn't have it this past year.
We weren't even in the top
25.
15. I told you,
25,
we weren't even probably in the top 25 in NIL spending. But they came out with the rumor that we spent $5 million last year, and we were all on the bus like, got the $5 million? Where's that?
And here's the thing, too, with that. Sterling, how much you make here? What's your salary here? Todd, what's your salary here?
Enough.
Dylan, what you make? So who's got the $5 million?
Yeah.
Pff, not me.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah,
Who the hell's
not
got? I don't know who's got $5 million. Pff, it ain't public. I don't know who's got. Like everybody's looking around. Like, how do you get $5 million? Who's got the money? Pff, I don't know.
I'd guess Lebo.
I'll tell you this much. I'm not like okay. So
Almost
yeah,
5.
That's going to be like offered up. Like
Yeah.
Hunter. Yeah, I'm playing 4 minutes a game. I got 1.4. Why? What'd you get?
Yeah.
Would you? Oh, you're not making 1.4. Like there, nobody's.
It's just another thing
nobody's
that's
talking about that.
complicated. Yeah.
Like you know how much a scholarship is because that's sort of public there on a
Right.
baseball team, and you got 11.7 to split between 30 people. Like you got a better idea of that. But if somebody's getting 850,000 in an NIL and somebody's getting 600, I don't know how much that's talked about in the locker room.
No.
It's kind of like mind your business. It's my business. It's a and B conversation. See your way out of it.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It is, and we'll see where it ends up going.
Yeah.
They're going to have they'll have some things to jump through with this ruling, and then if they can actually get some reins on true NIL, because I think there's been about 1% of these deals
it's
have
pay
been
for play.
NIL.
It's absolutely pay for play.
100% pay for play.
Yeah, right now it's just pay for. It started out NIL.
Yeah.
With like TV commercials and a car
And
dealership.
$600 from EA Sports to have your likeness on the thing. That's NIL.
And then your boy Nigel Pack goes down to Miami and gets like $800,000 for a couple of years, and now he's at Oklahoma. What's he getting at Oklahoma?
No idea.
That's like 4,000 cases of Busch Light.
But Trey Young gave
You
him.
think he's getting less than $800,000 at
Trey Young, he's 25 now.
gave him
Trey
$1
Young
million.
gave him $1 million to get to seed money thing
Yeah.
because I don't think they had any money at Oklahoma. That's why Uzan was at Houston and Uday was at
Oteg Owe is at
Owe was
Kentucky.
at Kentucky because they didn't have any money.
So Trey Young just bought Nigel Pack, is what we're saying, for Oklahoma. There you go. Money
True
well
veteran.
spent. Money well spent. We'll take Trey Young paid for a guy at college who's older than he is.
They might play against each other. Actually, Trey Young's older than him, I think.
Is he older than Nigel
okay.
Pack? Is he older? We'll
Trey
find-
Young's last year, I think, was 19, maybe 18 or 19.
Yeah,
Trey Young.
He's in Lucas.
Trey Young is pretty 26.
Yeah.
So he's
Nigel
older than
Pack.
24. He's,
Nigel
gonna be,
Pack's
he's
like
almost
25.
Nigel
25.
Pack is almost 24.
Yeah,
Okay,
almost
so
25.
That's close. Yeah,
I think.
It's close.
Almost 24. That's
Yeah.
right. Almost 24.
We'll take a timeout. Come back. Continue rolling. Fact or fiction next.
Fact.
or fiction? Todd Lebo heading up until 2 o'clock. The program with Seren Petro takes over. Michael Malone fired from the Denver Nuggets along with their GM.
And Octavio Dotel, former Royal, former Cardinal, former about everything. Apparently
Astro,
one of the people
14 teams
perished. 27 people so far in this nightclub collapse last night in the Dominican.
Yeah.
So R.I.P. to
Pretty sad
Octavio
stuff.
Dotel on the 07 Royals.
Yeah, pretty sad stuff there. So played 15 years for
Most of the league.
13 teams.
13 teams.
13 teams in 15 years. That's a pretty decent man cave with your jerseys of all the teams you play for. That takes up a lot of space.
It's a lot.
You know, you're not going to be exchanging jerseys with many people because you got all those.
Horrible looking photographs of this nightclub collapse, roof collapse.
I'm not sure how there would be any survivors when you see the photos of the
He
aftermath
was
of it.
6 hours afterwards. He was there for 6 hours in the rubble before they got Octavio out.
Yeah, awful stuff, man. Really no transition from that to
Factor Fiction.
to play Factor Fiction. How we play is that Sterling will give us a question. We say if it's right or wrong, Factor Fiction, more probable than not, yes or no. And we're really just guessing what Sterling is saying. So we're not even going with our own opinion. We can offer our own opinion, but it's really the Factor Fiction is based on what we think Sterling will say.
Always go back and grade the next week.
100%.
And I'm always 12 for 12.
Always.
It's incredible.
And there is rarely a tie, but he always has a tiebreaker ready to go just in case there's a tie.
Almost always it's bad.
That's right. We will start with Todd since he's the guest.
We'll go with Lebo this time.
Let's go.
Todd.
I think Walter Clayton Jr. will be a good NBA player. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Fact, I would hope.
I'm going to say fiction on that one.
Yeah, fiction.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he made this one up. Sorry, I don't think he's going to be.
You don't know ball, but that's okay. We'll keep going.
He's 6'3".
Literally everyone on planet Earth says he will, but
if Houston can lock him up, what do you think NBA players are going to do?
you're right. Yeah, that makes sense. We design our entire game plan to stop one player, so he stinks. That's how
We'll
it works.
find out about this, Dylan.
Well,
Don't be
yeah.
sour because you didn't
I
get
already
the point.
know.
You're still tied. It's okay.
No, it's 1-1 nothing. Dylan will lead us off, though, on this one.
Take it from a Sixers fan. He knows about high draft picks.
Hey!
Oh, the
I knew.
process.
I said no Markelle. I said no Ben Simmons.
I don't believe
I
you.
said trade Embiid.
I don't believe
I
you.
have had a plethora of
don't believe
correct takes when it comes to the NBA.
Just
And
believe you.
pick that
don't
scab off,
don't
man.
do it. The Sixers are absolute buns because
Well done,
Brian
Dylan.
Colangelo in his 12-inch collars
Okay.
around
that's
his
fine.
neck
Is he the
Oh,
one
that's
with
right.
the
ruined the team.
the burner,
The burner
Twitter
account,
accounts?
which apparently allegedly was his wife the whole time.
Next question. Let's
All right,
go.
let's start with Dylan here.
Malik Monk would have been better than any of those bums.
Fiction.
Also wrong.
Also fiction.
No, he would have been better than Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz.
Let's go. Relax.
Yeah, well,
Boy,
that's-
Dylan
I guess
got you.
from that
buddy.
Woo, yeah, Nerlens Noel, Jahlil Okafor, great job, Philly.
Now we know how to get to Sterling.
All right, Todd Golden outcoached Kelvin Sampson. Fact or fiction?
I can't remember what he said earlier in the show because I think you said the answer, but I'm going to go with fiction.
I think you think, and I don't know that you really said it during the show, so this isn't to where I'm going with something that you already said. And if you did, then I wasn't listening anyway. I was really discussing whether or not, in my mind, of Ben Simmons or Markelle Fultz. I'm gonna say fact. They outscored him by 5. They got a number of shots for Walter Clayton in the second half, and they did a pretty decent job against Houston. So I'm gonna say that you think it's a fact.
Fiction.
Fiction. It's fiction.
We made it.
I don't think he outcoached Kelvin Sampson. I think it was close. I think the adjustments in the second half were great, but I
Some
think
of the worst three-point shooting from both teams
Oh yeah,
I've
it
ever
was
seen.
0 of 13 to start the game before Richard hit that first three in the corner.
Grab some rim at least on one of them.
Yeah, I thought Kelvin Sampson actually did a good job coaching. Sometimes you just got to make the shots, and
Yeah.
overall,
Well, he did say that too. He's like, we're up by 12. We were making shots, and they weren't. And then they started
and
making
then
shots, and we weren't.
I think both actually coached very well.
Yeah.
I'm
The
glad
hottest
all
start I've
teams
ever
have.
had.
I'm glad
high-low
both
game.
teams had fun.
2-0.
Todd's up. Todd is tied at 2-1-1.
Jason.
Yep.
Bryson DeChambeau finishes top 3 at the Masters. Fact or fiction?
Fact.
It's a fact. You definitely picked him in the video that I saw that you posted.
You're not supposed to look at the video.
Say fact, Dylan.
Well, fact.
Yeah, I picked him to win.
That's a fact.
Why'd you look at the video?
Because
Why
it's
wouldn't
on
you?
our social media.
Why wouldn't
Does
you?
he have
You're a
better
golf
odds than
expert.
Rahm?
Rahm's, I think, is second.
I was going to
best
say,
odds.
Rahm's up there as well.
Bryson, it was like plus 1,800 or something like.
Yeah, he's
ooh.
up there as
Bryson's
well.
in the top 10.
I'm like, that sounds a little tasty.
tasty.
All right. We'll start with Todd. Speaking of
Lebo, sticking with the Masters. Brian Harmon will get a top 10 finish at the Masters this year.
Fact.
Who?
There you go.
Brian Harmon.
Oh, go fact.
that, I'm going to say fiction.
Fact.
Should have watched the video, Jason.
Should have watched the video.
He,
He just came off a good victory at the Valero
In the
Texas
wind.
Open in the wind.
And he's an 03 British Open champion.
He's a lefty. He has a lot of waggles, which kind of drives me insane. But Brian Harmon, I think I like that he's tested.
I paid attention to
Waggles,
to-
are you talking about? Who's
Sterling.
the guy that takes forever to
Yeah,
take
Brian
a
Harmon, the lefty,
okay,
the
gotcha.
lefty with the waggles. He loves to waggle.
Yeah.
Used to be Kevin Na. Remember him?
Yeah, Kevin
oh,
Na.
God, he
Oh, my
waggled.
goodness.
Yeah. But Brian Harmon, it's great odds too.
4-3-2. We're all tied. Dylan leads us off.
Dylan, I would pay $3,000 to play Augusta. $3,000 I would pay to play Augusta.
What? Damn. I
This
don't
was
know.
not in the video.
I was going to say, and also, I don't know what like a normal, like a high-class course would cost.
I
Probably
mean,
not
like
that.
Pebbles, probably like $600 or $700.
Oh, okay, then
right?
yes. I'll go fact.
Fiction, you'd pay $10,000. No, fact, you'd pay $3,000.
I think it's a fact. You do that.
Fiction.
So
my
cheap.
my out was 2.
Such a lie.
Who's that?
2K was
I can
my
get you on
my
for
out.
I can get you on for $2,500.
Out.
Okay.
2,100.
I'm a no out. I'm a man. I'm like
2000.
21. I'm
2001.
I'm Brett Veach. I this is Tyreek Hill.
Is it?
I have my out.
2001.
It's a principal point now.
Okay.
Okay,
It's
sure.
a principal point.
And you know what?
2K is my out.
It
What if
sounds
I
like
get you on for free, but you have to pay for $2,000 worth of travel to get there?
Yes, in.
Okay.
I will. I will.
I'll pay $10,000 to get there, but I'm not paying.
What if
more
it's
than $2,000?
2,500 to get there?
It's not gonna be that much.
But what if it is?
I'd take that
Well,
risk.
it's
for
a
free.
quarter of the
So you
tank
pay
on the private jet.
$2,500 to play for free. Okay, sounds good. It's 4-3-2, all tied. I'll start off with this one.
Jason.
Yep,
I am enthused about the Royals start overall.
fact.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Yeah, fact.
You're okay with this?
That's a fact. Yeah, I am pretty enthused. Bobby and Salvi have struggled, and the Royals are 500. I think that's a positive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're whelmed.
I'm whelmed. I'm
Yeah.
enthused.
Whelmed.
5-4-3. We're all tied. We are done with the. We're halfway there. We start with Todd.
Let's go.
I am all in right now on Chris Bubich.
Fact.
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 Fact, yeah. Yeah, I'm all in now. After 2 starts,
Yeah,
all
why
the
not?
way in.
Why not?
His fastball and changeup movement is absurd. The
It's
sweeper
crazy.
movement
Oh,
is
sweeping the nation. Dylan.
Dylan.
Todd's damn near close to sweeping the categories. Only missed out on one right now.
Chiefs will draft a running back by at least the 4th round.
I'll go fact on that.
Now, by the 4th round, I just want to make sure we're clarifying here. 4th round counts.
Correct.
Fact.
Yeah. Fact.
Yeah, in fact, I think it's the 4th.
Yeah.
I think it's the 4th round. So
Yeah, I'm
That was
kind of
tough.
thinking that too. That's why I wanted to make sure to clarify
it's
the
a
fourth
good
round.
clarification.
Yes. All right, I'll lead off. It's 7-6-5, all tied.
I was a big seafood guy down in Florida. I
Yep.
saw food, I ate it.
Fact.
I ate more grouper than mahi in Florida.
I don't know who Mahi is, but I think that you ate more grouper than he did.
Grouper's
so
a Florida fish.
I'm going to say fact.
down there. That's a fact.
Yeah, off what Todd just said, I'll go fact.
Fiction.
Oh.
That
So
was
much
the
mahi.
obvious one. Normally, I'm a grouper guy, but
Yeah.
grouper, I was the black and mahi was hitting down there. It was
yeah.
so good.
Interesting. Okay.
Big grouper guy.
Very
But the normal grouper restaurants I would go to, actually, sadly enough, have been wiped out by the hurricanes.
Hurricanes can't go back to the grouper spots.
Can't go to my grouper spots, my normal spots. So it's sad.
Caught some. Caught
Back
some
to Todd.
redfish.
Last
Love it.
round.
That's Louisiana, though.
Last round.
Let's go.
7-6-5, all tied.
Sweet tea being the norm. Like if you ask for
Yeah.
tea and sweet tea's like
Yeah.
sweet tea instead of
Tea.
unsweet.
So just tea.
So when I ask for tea, if it's sweet, that determines if the state is southern or not.
Absolutely. Fact.
Fact.
That's fact. I mean, especially
It's-
with how sweet it is. But
yeah.
yes,
It's
fact.
a fact,
You
and
have
that's
to
that's why
clarify there.
Florida's not really part of the South. Because in Florida, you ask for tea, they give you
Give you
unsweet.
regular tea?
If
And
you're
you're-
up in the panhandle, it may.
Panhandle's different.
Yeah.
But like I'm like this is BS.
In Kentucky,
From
if
the
you ask for
South.
unsweetened tea, it's just less sweet than the other sweet teas.
Yes, exactly.
Is it, well, that's unsweetened. Well, no, this is very much, there is sugar in this. Well, there's not as much as the others, honey. All right, sure. All right, Dylan.
Blue Jays giving Vlad Jr. the extension actually makes sense.
fiction?
Fiction.
Fiction, yeah.
Fiction.
Uh-huh.
So
That's
many years.
14 years for a guy that's,
Super in shape.
yeah, very much in shape.
I mean,
Feels like
he's
a Prince Fielder coming, doesn't
he's
it?
a first baseman that's going to grow into a DH. I mean,
Fact or fiction?
if
We got to hurry.
Bobby's gonna grow
Today's
into a
weather
third
is
baseman.
perfect.
Fact.
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 Fiction is too cold.
It's fiction. He does like the heat.
9 to 8 to 7.
Warm it up, baby.
What's the tiebreaker?
9 to 8 to 7, all tied. What's the tiebreaker?
Rank these 5 bands.
Oh, I'm out.
They're easy.
And because of that, I'm out.
The Eagles, Journey, Foreigner, Styx, Bon Jovi. Rank them.
Okay.
All right, we'll do that on the other side of the break. More's on next. bands. This is the order he gave us to rank the bands. Eagles, Journey, Foreigner, Styx, Bon Jovi. So it won't be in that order, obviously. Or it will.
Ooh.
I'm going to start at the bottom.
Start at the bottom.
What's number 5?
Start from the bottom. Now
5 should be fairly easy for everyone.
Styx.
5 is Journey.
What? Seriously?
5's Journey.
Dylan, you know who number 5 is, right?
It's going to be the Eagles.
It's
isn't it?
Journey.
I'm guessing you're going to reference the greatest movie of all time, Big Lebowski.
Correct.
And the Eagles is 5th.
It is 5th. Yeah,
No,
I've had
it's
a
not
long day, and I bleep and hate the Eagles, man.
The Eagles are number 1.
I had the Eagles as 3,
We've got a
so.
clip of you spelling out, yelling,
Kind of.
E-A, and I'm not going to do it because I'm not an Eagles fan like you
So
are.
I had Bon Jovi
All right.
1 then.
Bon Jovi 4.
God, I'm way
I
wrong.
had Eagles 1.
I wanted to say Foreigner 1.
I had Bon Jovi 2.
Eagles
Styx 3.
Styx are 3.
Yeah, I got one right.
So it's Journey 1 then?
Journey 1.
Journey 1,
I had him
2?
5.
Foreigner 2.
Foreigner 2,
Okay.
wow. I went
Eagles
4, 5.
5. Clear number 5. Bon Jovi number 4. Slippery and Wet. Great album.
It's a great album.
That's about it, though. Bon
Okay,
Jovi, Slippery and Wet. Phenomenal, but that's all I got going for me. And I saw him live. Didn't do it for me. Very boring. Shockingly. Styx number 3. I like some Styx. I can get down to some Styx. All of them in concert. They're solid.
Domo Origato, Mr.
Top two though. Foreigner and Journey were tough.
That's a war.
This was difficult. Love Foreigner. But Journey just a little more. They get the edge.
I love the fact that Millie Bobby Brown is now Millie Bobby Brown Bon Jovi. That's great.
Is that what she is? That's
Yeah.
a lot.
She married John Bon Jovi's son.
That's a whole lot of names.
11.
It's a mouthful.
Millie Bobby Brown Bon Jovi.
Bobby Brown, Bon Jovi.
Just call me Millie.